All right, here we are once again. Ready for action, episode 44, Abomination Vaults. Been playing this campaign for over a year now. Doing pretty good. My players have gained 1 level. That's fantastic. Took a year, but it was well worth it. And we're going to start episode 44 tonight. We've got almost a full house. We're brimming. We've even got an audience with us tonight, hidden in the background. You can't see them in the stream, but they're there. Trust me. They might even give away some hero points to the heroes, or villain points for the GM. We'll see what they do. I am watching, Michael. Yeah, we got almost a full house. I'm going to have the players introduce themselves and all that good stuff one at a time as we do, and then jump right into our recap, and then we're going to start rolling some dice and playing some of this Pathfinder 2E. So let's do that right away. First up is going to be tonight. It's going to be Alessandra. Dizzy, go ahead and introduce yourself and your character. Tell us a little bit about this gunslinger that you're playing tonight.
I play Alessandra, the gunslinging vampire who has mainly kept herself quiet, being more of a scout for the group. Not much is known about her to the rest of the group, as she's been mainly just keeping an eye on everybody, trying not to cause too much problems, and I'm really looking forward to see what we get into tonight.
Excellent. Well done, Alessandra. Althea, you're number 2. What's going on? What's happening? What's happening, Rachel? Rachel, number 1. All right, we'll go to Cassandra. Wait for Rachel to jump in. Eric, how about you? What's going on tonight? Who you playing?
Hey there. It's gonna be a great day. I'm gonna be playing Althea. She's a devout cleric of Desna, and despite her little tiny gnome frame, she does what she can to be a invaluable part of this team, whether it's through her spells and healing or through her diplomatic ways. And we'll see which one she uses more this session.
Okay, fantastic. How about you, Eric? Are you there? Can you give me a little introduction for your character and tell us what's going on? Can you guys hear me okay? I think I'm having technical issues already. Okay. Let me see if I could fix this. Having a little issue here. Let me try something.
Boy, Fritz, I think we might be having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Yeah, we're definitely having some issues. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're breaking up.
Yeah? Okay, give me a minute here. Test, 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 test. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Technical issues, as usual. This is worse than it's been, though. We'll get this figured out first, and then we'll jump into this the way we should be. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's okay. Let me do something else here. I'll have to edit this out. Of course. Oh, let me get back into the voice chat with a different camera. Of course, I don't know what this will look like. I have no idea. Not that it really matters, but anyway, okay. Eric, did you do your introduction?
I have not yet.
All right, Eric, go ahead and introduce yourself, who you're playing tonight, and so on and so forth.
So, my name is Eric. I am playing Cassandra, the young monk who's trying to find her way in the world and is hooked up with these heroes in order to try and make sense of everything that's going on in Otari.
Fantastic. I love your character. I love the monk. Great background and all this good stuff. So awesome. It's glad to have you with us, man. So far, it's pretty fun.
Thanks.
And who am I missing? Sheppy, you're up next. Your introduction, my friend.
Hey guys, I play Sheppy, the elemental sorcerer of fire. And as always, he can't wait to burn something tonight because lately, nothing's been flammable. He's getting irritated.
Getting annoyed. Things must burn. Awesome. All right, folks, let's get into the recap from last session. I think I know what was wrong with my issues here. I have a program installing while I'm doing this. Norton Antivirus was installing while I was doing all this, which I didn't do intentionally. I can't believe it. Are you kidding me? Yeah, whatever. Let's do our recap. Eric, how about you tonight? You want to do a recap? You get an extra hero point. You can start us off, and maybe someone will join in halfway through with a little segue. Go for it, my friend.
All right. So, when the heroes were last in the Abomination vaults, after defeating a blinking skull that was coming in and out and defeating some wisps, they found a small little island within, and they swam out to it, and the spirit of Otari himself manifested and explained that if we were to get any further in the Abomination vaults, we were going to need to find some icons of the Roseguard, a group that existed a long time ago, and to be able to get past this barrier. So as such, the heroes returned to Otari to rest and recuperate and get a handle on where these items might be. The best idea about where they could be was the museum. And so they went there to try and see if any one or more of the relics were there. And at this point, I think I'll hand it off to Althea.
Okay, Althea.
Yeah, so we went to the mayor's. Only to be greeted by not the mayor himself, but the butler, or whatever he shall be called. He invited us inside. We ate a lovely dinner, kind of relaxed. And none other than the mayor's daughter arrived and joined us for a few. Her name is Doriana, and she spoke with us. We told her about these relics, these icons, and she actually kind of knew what we were talking about. She said that she kind of gave us some examples, and then what intrigued us the most was she actually brought us down into the basement and showed us one of these items. We had asked her if we could have it, you know. We need these items. We really tried convincing her, but she kind of rejected and declined. She wasn't going to give it up. Her father would kill her if she even knew that they were down there. And of course, none other than her father himself walked through the door. But it's actually quite fortuitous that he did, because then we got to speak with the man himself, and we convinced him to give us this. It was the hunter's brooch, to give us this brooch as part of like an aid to help us. We told him that we would just borrow it, and he in fact just handed it over, convinced that, you know, this will help. We need to do whatever we can. So we pocketed the brooch, and he actually helped us one step further when he told us. I believe he also, either him or Doriana, told us the other items were a sword and possibly a book. But we went from there to the next place we thought would have the most answers, and that was off to Rin Savixi's. When we arrived, she helped us immensely. She knew what the items were. She knew we were looking for the fighter's sword called Zin Faran, I believe, and that it might be located at the library. She knew about the wizard's book, The Threshold of Truth, and that Farley or Mordeblint, which is like a collector of oddities, previously mentioned, like a not a friend of Farley's, more like an employer maybe, but that they would likely know the location. But after all of this communication, she mentioned something else, something she noticed, and it was that one of our traveling companions, I believe it was Arthurian, that he should go to the Dawnflower because he is afflicted in some way that is not normal and he would need some assistance. So I think the next step was to go to the Dawnflower to search for the sword and to heal Arthurian in whatever ailment he has been subjected to.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Poor Arthurian.
Yeah.
Almost forgot.
I think it was a surprise to him too. Like, huh, what?
And yeah, so that'll have to be seen to for sure. Okay, we're gonna pick up. I got you guys down towards the Rowdy Rockfish, but you're actually a little above Rin Savixi's, but it's about 2 hours before dusk. It's been a long day. Long day. After making your way back into Otari, seeing to your wounds, grabbing a quick mug of ale to get yourself refreshed, you gathered yourself around. Well, icons. We gotta find these icons. What is this icon thing? Althea knows a little bit about these icons, just a little bit. You visited the mayor. You visited Rin Savixi, had your little experiences, and discovered the location of where you could possibly find these icons, these items that are the essence of the individuals that made up the Roseguard. The heroes at that time. You were gifted by the mayor himself the hunter's brooch. A beautiful little ornament for the dress. Althea has taken it in her charge to keep this little item. This was the item worn by one of the descendants, or one of the ancestors of the mayor himself. The cleric, or holy person, of the Roseguard. Asefna Menemes was her name. One of the actual founders of Otari. She had the hunter's brooch, and it's been kept here in the manor house of the Menemes ever since, and it's been gifted to you for all your service that you've rendered to Otari. Gifted to you by the mayor, Menemes himself. To do with as you will. It was during that little episode that you did, in fact, meet the eldest daughter of Osef Menemes, the mayor, Doriana. Which Althea described for us. There was also the book, held by the wizard of the Roseguard, a book known as the Threshold of Truth. Zermavadian was the name of the wizard. And it's hinted at that this tome might actually be found at Mortiblins, which is only just a short jaunt across the street from where you currently stand in front of Rin Savixes. You're somewhat familiar with this, Althea, this place, Mortiblin, especially since you know someone who works there, as you mentioned, Farley Tell. He might have the book, this magical tome, perhaps a spell book. Who's to say what this threshold of truth really is? But surely it's one of the icons that you seek. And also, you know of the sword. Zinfaran was the sword's name. A beautiful blade. So it's described. Relatively common knowledge in town, although not so much with you guys. The sword, wielded by the warrior of the Roseguard, known as Val Rajani. The sword has been kept at the Dawnflower Library, so it's said, which is surprising, Althea, but makes sense because you do know of a side chamber where it was well ornamented with tapestries and paintings and vases, and very decorative, a great open window that let in all the sunlight of Serenray. And there below the window was this large glass case with this sword maintained within. You never paid much attention to it. Warriors and weapons. It's not your thing. But now it makes sense. Maybe that is one of the icons of the Roseguard all this time. But surely it's there. So the Dawnflower becomes another place where you might be able to find an icon of the Roseguard. Of course, it still lingers in your head. What of the fourth icon? There were 4 members of the Roseguard. There was the rogue, Otari was his name, the spirit of which you encountered. So you think. And whose body still remains deep under the gauntlet. In fact, it was Sheppy who was reaching towards that body, that blade that looked almost magical. The pack that laid there below this ghost, this spirit, with these bones within. He reached to them and he was felled. Not slain, but he went down. Perhaps something is contained in that pack that might be of use. You ponder. Because why wouldn't you? But here's where you currently are. You're standing outside of Rincevixi's. And you have a choice at this point. You could make your way to the Dawnflower. Or you could make your way on over across the street to Mortiblins and see about this threshold of truth to go alongside the brooch that you currently have. Now, one more thing before we go any further. Refresh everybody's mind. The spirit of Otari, the ghost of Otari, what you think is the ghost of Otari, explained to you that retrieving these icons, these items that are the essence of the Roseguard, and taking them to a shrine underneath the gauntlet, which is not actually far from where that Otari his ghost was encountered. You haven't actually seen a shrine, but you get the gist of where it may be. According to Otari, basically due north, where that blue glowing light was, across from where that set of steps descends deep underground, seemingly with a glowing blue barrier. You haven't really looked closely at this barrier, but it was scary. You heard sounds of moans. You saw wisps of spirits dancing across this barrier. But you haven't really looked close at it. Surely that's the barrier he speaks of. There's the steps that lead below. But due north from there, where there was another faint glow of blue lights, more than one, but very dim, you can see it. But you never went in that area. And it's in that area, according to Otari, lies the shrine. You must take the icons to this shrine. Lay them upon the shrine, for only then can the barrier be brought down. You'll need to be prepared for such a thing. So, 2 hours before dusk, in front of Rincevixi's, what do you do?
Well, it
Sounds like
sounds
we need to. Yeah.
Not all at once. Calm down. I know you're excited.
Go ahead.
Okay. It sounds like we have to get the book and the other thing. And I think the sword is in with the ghost of Otari still. So which place do we want to go to first?
Well, one is merely across the street. It seems to me we would go there first, no, my friends?
I think
Let's
that's
go.
I think that's a good idea. Let's head across the street, but I've only heard of Mortiblin through stories from Farley Tell, and I don't know if he's the type that I'd talk to.
Alessandra would be quiet in the back of the group for a little bit and listening to the group talk. And then she's gonna speak up and go, I am going to venture off for a bit. I shall meet all of you back at the tavern, if you are fine with that.
Don't go far. We're gonna need you.
We'll see you soon.
Fare thee well.
Where are you going? Down to the Rowdy Rockfish, or?
Alessandra is going to make her way out of the city, and she's going to go up to the circle of rocks where that pool of water is.
No problem. You can make your way up there. Not at the moment, but I'll put your token there. Give you some idea where you're heading. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, have you been there before?
She hasn't been in this particular area, but she has been scouting the entire town out, kind of getting familiar with the whole location.
Okay.
Just in case something were to happen, she needs to flee the town. She knows where all the exits are and such.
Okay. You'll make your way over there. The rest of you, a short jaunt across the street. You can see it located on the map. It's right here where I'm pinging. That little book there, Odd Stories. Unfortunately, I don't have the proper picture of Mortiblint here. I don't use the default one. But you see the small single-story house. In front of the door, and it's a broad door, a white door, stands out. The door actually stands out from the rest of the building. It's actually freshly painted white. The rest of the building looks old, stucco style patching. But you see a sign over this door. It's a pair of books, one of which lies open, with strange little stars coming off the pages. You're all sure this is Mordiblint's. Odd Stories is the name of the place. You've seen Farley Tell many times frequent this location. In fact, he lived here as well as worked here. So you're assured a friendly face for sure when you come to the door. And you walk up to it and you bang on it. It's getting late in the day, and you hear shuffling around. You hear a loud crash like something fall to the floor. But eventually, the door begins to unhitch and lift, and slowly it creaks open. And there you see, standing in front of you, Althea Sheppy, about 4 foot tall, this elderly man. He's leaned over, hunched, making himself quite small. And you see he's dressed in a gray shawl over his shoulders. And he's got brown-colored robes underneath. And he's got this big beard. And he reaches up to his face, and he has these spectacles. He looks up at you and then looks back down at you, Althea. Who would you be? Who are you? It's getting late. Speak up. I don't have all night.
Just bear with us. Bear with us.
Yes.
Well, we're friends of Farley Tell. My name's Althea. I've come with Sheppy, Arthurian, and Cassandra.
Farley, you say? Yeah. Oh, you would be those friends of his, the companions. I think you go by, correct? Would that be you? Would you be the companions, the heroes of Otari?
I don't know about heroes yet, but people have referred to us as the companions once or twice.
I see. Well, how can I help you? Are you after books, perhaps, to share stories? It's kind of late, but you're welcome to come in. My Farley isn't here, I'm sorry, but would you like to come in?
Of course. It appears to be raining out.
Thunder cracks the sky.
Althea just scurries inside real quick.
Come in. Come on, all of you, out of this damp weather. Come. And he invites you into this crowded chamber. It's not a big space, but it is crowded. It is full of books. You see shelves all along the walls, to the left, to the right, to the far wall, where there's another portal leading into another small chamber. You can't see within, it's dark. But you do see candles spread around the room, and you see light giving off and showing off these books, tomes, old tomes. You see on the left several stacks of what looks like old scrolls, some in cases, some tied. And in the center of the chamber, you see this long table, maybe 8 foot long. Several chairs lie around it, and all on its surface you see even more books. Old books, some with the dust still on them. You walk into the chamber out of the rain. Your feet walk across this somewhat dirtied and muddled rug that muffles the sound of your feet. The door shuts behind you. And you find yourself in this old, musty-smelling room. It smells like old parchment. Come over here, I don't have much room. And you look to the right, and he's pointing to a smaller table. It's maybe 3 by 4, and you can see a little cup and saucer there, and a couple other chairs. Definitely not room for all of you. But come, you can all find a chair at that large table there. Mind the books. But tell me, what are you after? And he invites you to come sit at the smaller table, Althea.
I try to make myself as small as possible to squeeze in.
Tiny. Tiny.
There's a sound effect and everything.
Yep.
We hate to trouble you at all at any time.
Oh, I don't mind.
You look like a very busy man, but we're interested and we're seeking one book in particular. And Althea, she's just kind of like, she whispers it like too quietly for anybody to hear. She just.
You'll have to speak up a little louder. I can't hear you. What was that?
Oh, we're looking for the threshold of truth.
The thrashings of what? What was that? I can't tell.
I stole the truth, old man.
Shippy, calm down. Not so loud.
What's happening? He kind of falls backwards towards the table, and a cup almost falls to the floor. He's looking a little nervous and shaky. I'd like, since you're doing the talking here, Althea, and making the biggest impression, I'd like you to make a blind diplomacy roll. Diplomacy roll.
Okay. I'd also like to remind us of my glad hand, where first impressions are my strong suit. And I can, it's a little late, we've been talking for a little bit, but I can immediately attempt a diplomacy check, but that's alright. I'll just roll a regular one. Blind.
Thud. Oh, nice dice.
Thanks.
Okay. He looks a little bit shaken, but looking back towards you, the little gnome, he kind of gets a little bit calm, and he looks towards you, and his eyes widen. I think I know you. I've seen you around these parts before. You are that you work at the Dawnflower. Yes, I think your name is Thea. Your name is Thea, correct?
Yes. I also call Otari my home. I'm a resident.
So I do know you. Okay. Well met. It's good to meet you, my dear. And the rest of you, you're all the companions. I think you, Sheppy, I know you. I won't mind you, but these other faces here, and he looks towards you, Cassandra. And he looks closely at you like he doesn't recognize you. Who might you be? Are you new in this town?
Yes, learned sir. I am Cassandra. I am newly arrived. I have decided to join the companions of Otari.
I see. And then he looks past you and he sees Arthurian, somewhat recognizing him, and his eyes move on. And, that's right. She's not here. Okay, so yeah. No. Anyway, back to business. You said you had stories to share. Yes, right. It's stories. Obviously, that's not what you came here for, but in his mind, that's what you're here for. And he looks back towards you, Althea.
Oh, no, not stories. We mustn't get sidetracked. We're here for that specific book, the one that belonged to I believe it was the wizard. One of the fallen from Otari, the fallen.
Fallen of Otari? I don't know what you speak of, my girl.
Also known as the heroes?
You mean the Roseguard?
Yes, the Roseguard.
Oh, yes,
The heroes of the Roseguard.
You mean the Roseguard? Yes, the founders and saviors of Otari they were, yes.
Yes. It's been told that they've left behind these icons, these like relics. This particular book is one of them, and it's important that we find and collect these items. We were told if we were looking for a book of any kind, especially one so particular and odd, we might come to you for it, for help.
Spelled that long. There he is. Okay, yeah. Did you mention the name of the book? I know you did under your breath. Did you mention it to him? What that book's name was?
Sheppy screamed it out.
Yeah. I made it known.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me consult the oracle for something here. I think I know what you're looking for. The Threshold of Truth is the name of the tome.
Yes, that's the one.
If I remember, it was the actual spell book of the wizard of the Roseguard. Yes, that's it. I have been keeping it well hidden and safe for many years. Eyes have not fallen upon that book in even as long. And he kind of pauses, like he's thinking. I'm not sure, but what do you want with it, might I ask? You would like to read it, I assume. I don't know if I can do that.
I don't have any interest in reading it. Spell books are a little beyond me. I commit everything to memory. But we need it for some urgent matters at the Gaunt Light. It holds powerful magic, and she just goes on telling the truth about everything she knows. We need this powerful magic to dispel this force field that's blocking us from furthering our descent into the Gaunt Light.
And what are the rest of you doing while this conversation is going on? Cassandra, Sheppy.
Cassandra is never... Oh, sorry, Sheppy, go ahead.
Sheppy's going to cast Detect Magic secretly.
Okay. You can do that. You can mumble some words. How about you, Cassandra?
Cassandra's gonna... She's never been in a place with this many books, and she's quite fascinated. So she's looking at the spines of the books and seeing what the topics are and so forth. She's very careful not to touch them because she doesn't have permission. And while she's doing that, she's also gonna just patch up, redo some of the bandages on her that need to be addressed. So I'm going to make a medicine check if that's okay.
Okay, you could do that. You could do that public. So keeping to yourself, while this conversation is going on, mending to yourself, eyeing up the books.
Yes.
What'd you get?
24.
Oh, that's critical success.
Is it? I thought 15 was the DC.
15 is the ZC, so it'd be 25. And you got a what?
Yeah. I got 24.
Oh, you're one under.
One shy.
Yeah, exactly.
One
Aw.
under.
Right, but it's enough. I'm back at full.
You can always use a hero point.
Mhm.
I'm very generous tonight, you know. All right, you're good with the healer's tools. It takes you less time to do that, doesn't it? You're quite efficient at wrapping those bandages. Does it take just as long? 10 minutes?
Yeah, it's 10 minutes. I could have done 2 people at the same time, but she's too quietly excited about just the immense knowledge in this place.
Meanwhile, you just barely hear Arthurian wince in pain at a couple of his scrapes and bruises. I'll be all right. don't worry about me.
All right, lad.
She's a bit absent-minded about this.
Half his beard's gone. He's looking bad. He's looking bad, Arthurian is. Let me see here. I got this open somewhere. Where is it? There it is. Let me take a quick look at something here. Oh, okay. Okay. While that's going on, the healing's going on. Did you explain to him what you wanted this book for? I know you explained you don't really want to look at it. You're just after
Oh yeah,
it.
she in full detail explained how that they need this item for its basic magical properties in order to dispel a barrier so that they can delve deeper into the gauntlet, as is their duty as the companions in order
save
to
the
protect Otari.
Yeah.
She's given him the full spiel.
Yeah. He seems very hesitant to just grab the book and give it to you or anything like that. If you'd like to look at it, that's fine. But he seems very protective of this book, and you haven't seen it yet. So he hasn't dug it out of anywhere, but he's kind of hesitant and curious why you want to use this. You don't want to read it, but yet you want to take it someplace into this dark gauntlet that you speak of, which he knows about. Everybody does.
Sheppy's going to chime in and show him the brooch that the mayor gave us, which is also
yeah.
it's also one of the items that we need, and the mayor has given us permission to take it, and he also told us to come here.
Okay. You step forward, Sheppy. You don't have the brooch, of course, but you kind of whisper to Althea, "Show him the brooch. Show him the brooch."
Oh yeah, I take the hint and the clues that Sheppy's putting out there, and I'll quietly and just out in the open pull it out of my backpack and hold it. Not giving it to him, just holding it for viewing purposes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And he kind of looks at it, and he pulls out his spectacles, and he's looking deep at it. And you say this? The mayor gave you this, did he? This
Sure did.
And he kind of recognizes it, being the hunter's brooch. And okay, let me roll a die here. That seems to merit something. Unfortunately, I got a 2. Anyway. You continue this little conversation. It takes a few minutes. It goes by, and you show the brooch and everything else, and he just seems very reluctant. But somehow you convince him, Althea, and he begins to stroll over to one of the shelves on the right behind the small table where you're currently standing. He seems to be poking around, and he all of a sudden, from the very bottom shelf, he pulls out this chest, slides it out across the floor. It scrapes. He lifts it up, and he puts it on the table in front of you. And he begins to unhitch the front and open it slowly. And there you see within, Sheppy, you see what looks like something wrapped in cloth. Old, worn cloth. It's a green cloth. Very plain. And he begins to unwrap it. I will show you. You can see the book, but I'm not sure I want you to having it leave this place. I'm very protective. You have to show me with some assurance that I will get this book back. And then he goes on to lift it up, and there you see this blue-bound book. And I'll show you that book in a second here if I can find the right... Here we go. Right here. He unwraps it and shows this big, thick book. And you see all kinds of pages laying out of it. Very old looking. Let's see if that worked. I believe that'll open up a little parchment window for you, and you'll see a book in it. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a little different. I could also do it this way. That's a little clear background picture. But anyway, you see this very book. You can't read the writing. It's all some kind of arcane lettering and drawings. It looks old. It looks encrusted. But it's been well maintained, being wrapped in this cloth inside this little chest. This would be the book you seek. The threshold of truth. The very book of the Wizard of the Roseguard. I have been keeping it safe all these generations. At least all my life here in Otari. Not many eyes have fallen upon it. Now, you say you need this to protect the town, correct?
Yes, almost desperately so.
Okay.
And you can always talk to the mayor. He trusts us.
Yeah. I don't know if I trust the mayor. And with
Well,
that,
he is the leader of the town.
that's what he says. And then he closes up. Well, he doesn't close it up. He wraps the cloth back over it. Unless you stop him, he will close up the chest and latch the front. I trust you, young Althea. What you say. If what you say is true, and you will bring it back to me, you can do what you have to do, but please be careful with this ancient tome that I have been watching over, and be careful with it. It's said to contain such powerful magic. And with that, he hands over the chest. He looks towards you, Sheppy, and goes out to place it in your hands, and then he pulls back and looks towards Althea. Here, my dear, you keep this well safe, will you? You are guided by the gods. And he reaches towards you with the chest and plops it in your hands.
Firmly grasp it and hold it close to my chest. Thank you.
You do. And with that, you have, as far as you know, that is one of the icons. So you can safely store that away, Althea. I'll drag that to your character sheet. And the rest of you, is there anything else you would like to do while you're here at Mortiblins? It's about an hour before dusk.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, let me try.
Somebody else wants to-
Agreed.
Yeah, no need to hang around.
Now, I put that on your character sheet. I didn't mystify it. It's straight up right there, so you know what it is.
Wowza.
Yeah. Of course, Althea doesn't really know what's in there, but
Yeah, it's just sees all the scribbles. So I've seen what spell books look like, but not for me.
okay. So, with that, what do you do?
We'll head out. Thank you for your assistance.
Yes, and mind the book. Protect it. And I hope to see it soon again.
As soon as we are able, we will bring this back.
Yes. I hope so. The gods watch over you. And you
And
make
the book.
and the book. I think he was speaking of the book, but yeah. And
Not me and my companions. Yeah, no, he's with well wishes are toward.
see you, book. I'll see you soon. I love you. Okay, let's not get carried away here.
She'll put the book into her backpack, where it is safe, especially from the rain.
Okay. Velcro and zippers. All right, so you're all set. You're standing out front in the streets once again in front of Mortiblins. Now, keep in mind, Mortiblins' location does not support you at this stage. Speaking a little games terms here, you guys know what this is. Eric, there's locations on the map. I kind of color code them. If they're green, it means they support you. They support the companions and what they're doing for the town. What does that mean mechanically? It means you'll gain certain benefits mechanically from those locations or those people in town. So there is that. So when I refer to supporting you, that's what I'm talking about. How do you get a location or people to support what you're doing, your efforts? You talk with them, you communicate with them, you role play with them, you get on their good side. You tell them stories when it's a story to be told, that kind of thing. You work on them. And if you look at the map, you'll notice that one location, the Dawnflower Library, and also Rin Savixi's, should be green. I'm not sure I changed them to green. No, I haven't, since the update I made over the holidays. But those two locations support you. So you could, for instance, get a discount on any items or services offered there. Not much, but it's something. That kind of thing. So that's what I mean by getting a location or people to support you. Right now, the Dawnflower, Rin Savixi, and there's one other one. Oh, the mayor supports what you guys are doing. Okay. We'll get it just briefly. That's what it is. It's good benefit for you guys. And I'll explain more about that in the future for you. But
And you say these areas should be green on the map?
yeah, I just have to click the icon and change their color.
Oh, okay.
Which I'll make a note, remind myself to do for the next session. Or during the intermission.
Yeah, I don't think we see the locations like how we used to. They don't appear on the map anymore.
All right, let me see. Toggle notes display. You don't see them?
Mm-mm.
All right. So I think what you need to do is go to your little banner symbol on the left side of your screen. It's called Journal Notes. Click that, and then click the little pin. It's the toggle notes display.
I only have like toggle navigation. I myself can create a map note, but I don't see existing ones.
All right.
I click it, but nothing happens.
Okay, let me check and see if it's the permission on the
Yeah,
locations.
we haven't had that for a while, like many, many updates ago.
Otari locations. All right. Yeah, they're not showing for you because I don't have them on. So let me see if I could do this in one swoop. Configure ownership. I want to make this limited. That's funny. Let's change this to default. Eric, Dizzy, you should be able to see these locations now. In a second here. Let me change them. Again, I just updated this, so there's a little things I still need to do in Foundry. And that was one of them. Alright, I'm going to save this. You should see them. And if you still don't see them, go back to that little banner symbol on the left, the journal notes, and toggle them once again and see if
I
that...
see him.
Yeah, they're there.
Okay. And that allows you to actually open them and read some information. Some of that stuff you probably shouldn't be reading. It's a little bit of a meta type information for you to have. So you'll probably know that, in which case ignore that part of it.
No, I don't think we can open them. They're probably set to private because of that specific information they might hold that's not for our eyes kind of deal.
Yeah?
But the icons do appear, which is kind of good because if we don't remember like whose house is what, or like, oh, there's the rowdy rockfish, or
So,
crook snook, things like that.
so what happens when you try to double click them?
Absolutely nothing.
Huh. Well, let me get out of that view. What is this? Create map note. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, again, there's some new things on here to explore. And look at. Anyway, we'll look into that as we get on with this. But regardless, on the map are little location symbols, and if you hover over, it'll tell you what that location is. They are open. You can open these. They are journal entries, and they reveal all kinds of information. Perhaps it's good you can't read them all right now. I'll have to look into this post-session and see what I can do to fix that, because I want you to be able to read some of this stuff. Anyway. All right, where were we? You're heading out. You're heading for the Dawnflower?
Yep, that's the last place we need to go.
Okay. Now, let's back up a little bit to Alessandra. What are you doing now? You've left the companions behind. You've moved up the North Road while they've gone off to this Mortiblance.
As she's making her way up to the circle around the pool of water, the weather outside really doesn't bother her too much because she's used to traveling in it. She's more of scouting the location, trying to see if she can pick off a magic sort of feel. Almost not exactly like the magic sensation she was feeling at the tower, but more of the different magic that Althea was using.
So you
Almost like nature kind of sensation.
you're doing some alone time? Is that what you're doing here?
Mm-hmm.
All right. As you make your way up the North Road and outside of town, passing by a few folks going on their way, little guards at the entry to town, and so on, you make your way up towards a little path that leads up towards the Stone Circle Pond. Now, as you bring this Stone Circle area into sight, you can see these little stones rising from the ground. They're not huge, but they're about maybe 3 foot in some cases, and they ring around this pond. And as you head in that direction, you can see what looks like a congregation of people. Not many of them. There might be about half a dozen people. And you can see it's kind of like a little camp, and it's close by to this Stone Circle area, to the northern side of it on the map. You can see them gathered around a fire that has not been lit. You can see stacks of wood. You get closer to this ring of stones, and you do see these people there. What do you do when you see these people? Do you continue to draw closer to the circle and the people? If you were seeking alone time, you're not going to find it there.
Not so much as alone time, but more of she's trying to pick up that feeling of magic. Like
Go ahead.
she's gotten a taste of like how certain magic is, like arcane nature and such. And
Give me a... I want to say recall knowledge. Arcana.
I can do that.
Yeah, you could do that. Kind of pick up the symbols of nature, or not nature, but magic around this Stone Circle area in particular. Is that what you're trying to do, this around this specific area?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go for it.
All right, now where is it?
Just give me an Arcana check. And I'll grab a DC here for you.
You want this public, or do you want it blind?
This will be blind, because this would be a secret check. I wouldn't want you to see the results. My gosh, the stones, they're magic! Okay. I need to know one more thing. Are you closing in on this congregation of people and these stones? How close are you getting to these stones?
She's gonna stop about 2 or 3 feet away from the group. She's not gonna
That's close.
try and be opposing. At the same time, she doesn't want to appear standoffish to the group.
Did you say you're getting about 2 or 3 feet from the people? Or the stones? Is that what you said? 2 or 3 feet?
More like, instead of 2 or 3 feet, it's probably going to be about, let's say a respectable 5 feet.
All right, 5 feet. Let's not nitpick. It's only a couple feet difference here. All right, you come up to the stones, and you begin to think and to focus, and your eyes are sharp, as keen as they are for you. And you can see on these stones, the first thing you notice is there is some type of carvings inside them, or on top of them, I should say. Something roughly hewn with hammer, chisel perhaps. But somebody carved images on these stones. Images you cannot identify. However, a few images do stand out to you. Although you're not of the arcane or the magical sort. You have seen some of these images before in the past. You recognize them. In fact, you might have seen them while traveling through the Gauntlet itself, and some old parchment or books lying about. You recognize certain symbols. What languages do you speak? That's one thing I don't have in front of me that I usually have. What languages do you know?
She speaks Common and Elven.
Okay. Perhaps some of these images are Elven. You can't be sure. But there's a couple images that you've definitely seen before, something to do with magical tomes, perhaps, or magical writing. But you've seen them before. Not many, but a couple of the stones have an image that looks very familiar, like you've seen it on some arcane tome, perhaps. That's your guess. Other than that, you don't really sense anything. All of a sudden, you hear a beat of a drum. And it's coming from that group that's gathered around this little campsite. There's no fire, but you can see where a fire will be made, and there's fresh wood to the side of them. Again, there's about a half a dozen human-sized individuals gathered in cloaks, browns, greens, earthy colors, and one of them seems to be beating some type of traditional drum made of skins and tree. And they all seem to be like listening to it and kind of moving back and forth, like some ritual is being conducted. What do you do? If you're not sure what you will do, give me your intention. You came up here to seek magic. And I think you've discovered something to do with that. Is there anything else you'd like to do?
Alessander is going to start looking for probably somebody who wears robes, almost Druidic-like.
You're looking for somebody in robes? Well, they're all kind of... They're all in cloaks as far as what you can see.
Something like you would see like a shaman or a druid wearing.
Could be. They might pass for that. They look like they're very much into nature and stuff. The drum, if you look at it, it looks very naturally made. Looks like an animal skin and some type of wood wrappings around the outside and some type of leather string pulling the leather tight around this wooden frame. The stick itself looks like an antler that seems to be tapping on the drum itself, the skin. Looks very natural. You don't see anything unnatural here. You don't see any blades or weapons or armor. Or even metal mugs. You don't even see any mugs, in fact. But you do see a little fire pit in the middle. It's not lit at the moment. Very natural, cool setting, I would say. Relaxing. You're kind of getting into the beat of the drum. The tempo is drawing your attention. It's almost like a heartbeat. So natural. You almost feel compelled to join them. And as you contemplate your next move, Alessandra, gripping close your musketoon pistols, your pistols, we're going to go back to the companions as they make their way south of town towards the Dawnflower Library. It's about an hour away from dusk, so it's still relatively lit well. You're making your way towards the Dawnflower, led by the ever-dominating Althea, who has a big backpack on her back, full of the goods. I think this is your first time here at the Dawnflower, Cassandra. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
But the rest of you have been here many times, especially you, Althea.
I want to point out that as we're trekking through town and through this city, knowing what is in her backpack, Althea is rather nervously walking about. She's staying really close to her companions, like giving the shifty eye, like something's gonna happen. Someone's gonna steal this stuff. We cannot afford to lose this. So she's like putting like an extra effort to grip her backpack, and she's constantly like reaching back and touching it just to make sure it's there.
Okay, go ahead and give me a blind perception check.
It better be there. Everyone's nice in this town.
Okay. And by the way, if anyone else is being particularly cautious as well as you move through town, let me know, and I might give you a little perception check blind as well, if you're paying attention and watching for things. You in particular, Cassandra, you are relatively new and curious about this town. So if you also would like to make a blind perception roll as you head towards the Dawnflower, go ahead and do that.
All right.
But Sheppy and Arthurian, this is old hat, old news. Sheppy, you feel like pulling something out of Althea's backpack just to make fun of her.
No.
Like to make a blind thievery check, please.
Too cautious.
You son of a gun.
She wasn't thinking gun there. I can tell you that much. She wasn't thinking gun.
There he is. Fantastic. How about you, Arthurian? How are you as you trudge along heading towards the Dawnflower with Althea, Cassandra, and Sheppy? What's on your mind?
Anxious for some more answers.
You are. What is happening?
Sheppy's worried about his lantern and the bag that we left behind.
I'm anxious to see what else we can uncover.
Before we go any further, I want to ask you, Sheppy, when you went down while you were under the gauntlet and you fell in battle, you had a lantern in your hand and you dropped it into the water.
Yep.
And you also, did you have anything else that you had in your hand that you dropped and left behind?
My sling,
Oh, yeah, your sling.
I believe. Yeah, I dropped that too.
All right. We can leave them on your character sheet until you retrieve them. If you fail to retrieve them, we'll take them off. That'll be Rachel's charge for the night.
Okay.
Well, you're running his character, right?
I guess so. I don't have permission.
Oh,
But
damn
yeah,
it.
we can change it so that it says dropped, so it appears in your inventory still, but it doesn't count towards the weight.
Yeah. Good thinking. Good thinking. Let's go find Sheppy. Configure ownership. Let's see. Where are you? Rachel. Put you as owner. Dun 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 dun. Okay. Alright, so I got that taken care of. Yeah, so that's still down there, left behind while you fled from this terrible creature attacking you. And the ghost, Otari. Let's check those die rolls you made. Cassandra? Althea. You notice a couple things, both of you. First of all, you notice that there's not many people gathered on the streets until you get to the bridge. The bridge being right here where I'm pinging behind you. Right in that area, And Althea, you know this area. You know that on this bridge is located this big tavern. The Crook's Nook. It's called the Crook's Nook for a reason. Perhaps you know what that reason is. Perhaps you don't. You've lived here for some time. I'm sure you've caught on. But you see a large gathering of people in this place every time this time of the day. This is normal. And you hear a lot of loud singing and chanting coming, well, not chanting, but singing coming from within. This, of course, is the Crook's Nook. It is a tavern, and it is quite lively, especially as the evening comes on. It's not like the Rowdy Rockfish, which is very laid back and comfortable. Comfortable dining, as it were. A nice place by the sea. But the Crook's Nook gets a little bit rowdy. Cassandra, you notice eyes upon you. Yes, there are those gathered around the bridge area, quite a few hanging outside, hanging along the bridge. You also feel that some of those people have their eyes upon you. You also hear occasionally, Cassandra, the whispers of these people watching you. These people that most of them they look like ne'er-do-well types, if you will. And it's those eyes that you see upon you, and occasionally you hear, carrying on the wind, the whispers of Gauntlet, companions, heroes, gold, treasure. You catch those words faintly. You pass by and get to the other side, and you see the green and white tabard of the Otari guard on the opposite side, and they're leaning against their spears at the end of the bridge, and they seem to be eyeing up in the direction that you're coming from, which is the direction of the Crook's Nook. You make your way down past them, unmolested, and continue your way further south toward this large structured building known as the Dawnflower, so your friends tell you. But that's all. Unless there's anything else you'd like to do, we'll carry on the journey.
Okay.
Something worth noting, Cassandra. Eyes upon you. Words.
Does Cassandra feel that the eyes were upon her for her specifically, or just that she had joined the companions?
You're not sure. That you're not positive of. At one moment you see someone whose eyes were upon you, but at the same time you see eyes that were actually looking at Althea or one of the other companions. So, in effect, the eyes were upon you as a group. Perhaps.
Well, we seem to be quite the crowd gatherers ourselves there, lads and ladies.
But Althea, you make it across. Backpack in tow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sheppy may be getting the respect that he finally deserves.
Yes, and you walk with a particular pride in your step, Sheppy. I'm one of the companions. His eyes are upon you. The future king of Otari, perhaps. I will have my revenge. Anyway. Sorry. Thinking about you going crazy and burning the whole place down. I'll fix you all. Sorry. All right. You make your way, finally, to the Dawnflower Library. Briefly, because you've all been here before, but I'll briefly describe this for Eric. Eric, you see this wonderful, large structure. It's got a central tower-like building in the middle, and on the side it's flanked by two smaller wings of this big structure. It's blue. It's white. It's also extremely beautiful. As you approach from the road, from the land side, you see in front of this main entrance of this bigger tower, you see what looks like this huge garden And you're immediately hit by the smell of budding flowers, budding trees. It is late spring. And you see dancing all through these bushes and trees swallows, many birds, and they're singing and they're dancing and they're playing from limb to limb. You see this scene. It's very inviting. And as the companions seem to walk into this garden, they're following along this little snake-like walkway of natural stone, about 3 foot, 4 foot wide. And it takes you through this garden as you follow it. And there's little fountains here. There's little benches there where you can stop and rest. And it's very inviting and pleasing. And eventually, you come to this large porch, which is made of white stone, and it's so clean. The whole building looks immaculate, like it's been washed or freshly painted. And it has all these blue fittings all around it. And the doors themselves, they are also white. They're banded in gold. Looks like gold. And as you approach, you see these large rings that you can grab hold of and boom, and knock on. But before any of the companions get to that point where it's that close, suddenly there is a click and both doors begin to fall inward into the interior of the building, just enough to allow the passage of the companions one by one. And there, as you step through the portal, after Althea and Sheppy and Arthurian, you see that flanking each door is this beautiful maiden on each side. They are, in fact, robed in white, gold, and blue trim. You smell like some type of wonderful incense is burning within. It smells clean. It smells just so inviting. And they look to you, and that you make eye contact with them, and you feel this reassurance when your eyes make contact with these caretakers of the Dawnflower. You also see emblazoned on the left chest of their clothing, you see emblazoned this symbol. Make a society check. This can be public. Society check, Cassandra. You recognize this. You've seen it many times before. This is the symbol of Saren Ray, the Dawnflower. This is the Dawnflower Library that you've heard about. They must be some type of priestess. Caretakers of the Dawnflower Library. You don't know much anything else. Go ahead.
Cassandra takes it all in a quiet awe.
Yes. Come inside. How may we help you? And Althea, of course, you work here at the library. You know all about it. You're also a cleric of Desna, which has a shrine here. Of course, you can reveal this information to Cassandra, who obviously is new to this place.
Oh, of course. I'd let her know as we approached. And tell her I'm quite familiar with this place. And before I took up this quest, I worked here.
How lucky you are to have worked in such a place of serenity and calm and knowledge.
Yes. I truly am lucky in that fact, in that area.
The threat we face must be great indeed for you to have left here.
And this is an example of what you see here, because there's more than just these two that stand at the doorway, allowing you to come inside. but there's several others. Now, you're in like a foyer when you enter this small round chamber, and the door is quietly closed behind you, and the two maidens step forward, and they bow towards Althea and the others, and they make their way to a room directly across from you. Well, let me explain this a little better. I've done this a million times. You're in this foyer. Now, directly in front of you is an exit, which goes through a hallway running left and right. And across from that is another chamber. Now, these portals have no doors. And in this other chamber across from you, you can see what looks like stacks of books. You can see very, very tall stacks of books and shelves. That is, in fact, the library. And as you step into this hallway out of the foyer that goes left and right to you, you see these long corridors. It looks like there's alcoves along these walls, along these corridors that go as far as your eyes can see. You don't see the opposite walls or end to these corridors. But regardless, it's the chamber in front of you where you feel compelled to go. That's where the companions are going, into this library. And when you step into this chamber, you see this glass dome overhead that lets sunlight in. And even though it's only an hour perhaps before dusk, it feels like it's morning. The light is shining through brightly in this chamber. As it does, says Althea. Normally. This is the library, and it's huge. There are rows and rows of these tall shelves that are just full of books. It's quite big. It's quite impressive. And above, again, is this big dome made of glass that, on the east side of it anyway, is glass, and it lets all the light come in. And you see all these vines that grow up along the walls, away from the books, but along the walls towards the lit area and the glass dome itself, reaching up towards the sun. You see these vines of nature inside the building itself. You see several of these other priestesses, we'll call them, with those same symbols of Seren Ray, making a way with books to and fro inside this library. And this is what you're greeted with. Now, Althea, as you step into the chamber, you're immediately greeted by none other than Vandy. Vandy, of course, is the head priestess here of the Dawnflower Library. Cassandra, you get the impression that this is both a temple and a library. Now, again, Althea can fill you in if you have any questions more about that. But stepping forward, making eye contact with Althea, is this almost the same height is this halfling. Vandy Banderdash. Once again, Althea confronts you. My dear, you've come back. How can we help you? You look like you've been in some grave danger and battle, perhaps.
I have been. I've taken many hits, as so have my companions. But we're not here for healing, although that would be nice. We've come here on a mission to find certain items. And she'll reach into her backpack and think it worked for the other guy. It'll work here. And she takes the brooch out and kind of waits for a response to see if she recognizes it, like if she's seen it before. Vandy, that is, if Vandy has seen the brooch before.
She definitely reacts to it. She kind of pulls back and she even calls that is the hunter's brooch. I have seen that before. And so she does recognize it. And why do you have such a thing? This belongs in the museum with the mayor.
The mayor's actually given this to us as we have asked him for it. We are looking for the icons of the Roseguard, and it might be possible, if my memory serves me correctly, there might be the sword here. And I can't quite recall which chamber it was, but maybe you could help us.
And at this point, she kind of gasps when you say that, when you say the sword. She pulls back a little bit. She knows what you're talking about. She says, "Oh no, something terrible is happening. The sword has been stolen. Come.
It has?
Come, all of you, come, follow me." And she immediately leads you out of the library, all of you. And she turns towards the left in this case, which is down the I can't think of the name of the wing, I'm sorry. But not where the shrines are, but the other one. And you go down about 30 feet down here, and she takes you into this one little alcove, this arched doorway, no door. And she leads you in here, and this is the chamber you recognize, Althea. This was the chamber where the sword once was kept. For as you look and see, the glass itself has been shattered. And where the glass was on the floor, it's been swept up and removed. But the glass case itself has been shattered. And she explains to you that a couple days ago, while you were away, someone had broken in and taken the sword that was kept on display. It was, in fact, the sword of Rajani, Vol Rajani. It was one of the icons. It's not a big deal. People don't come in and look at it anymore, but it's like a little holy place to remember one of the Roseguard. And the Dawnflower was responsible for maintaining it and kind of keeping it under safety. But a couple days ago, somebody has stolen it. And of course, you guys have no clue about this. You've been totally in town for a few and then sleeping and then back into you haven't really been paying much attention, but things have been going on. And evidently, somebody had stolen this. Although I have an idea who it might be. And
Point it out to us then, Lassie.
hold on, I gotta look at my notes. They know more than I do. But the sword itself, known as Zinfaran, or what can be interpreted as the cooperative blade, has been stolen. It is said that this was the sword of the warrior of the Roseguard, and like some of the other unique, iconic items from the Roseguard members, this sword was kept, maintained, and by the Dawnflower. They were the ones that kept this under their charge. So that was their thing. And immediately, pulling you into this chamber, looking around, she reveals to you that they think they know who did it. Carmen Rajani. Now, Althea and Sheppy, you can both give me society checks blind.
Listen, why does this name sound familiar?
Yeah.
I sent mine first, and then here's Sheppy.
Would you like to use a hero point?
Which one?
Both.
I'll use my hero point, and we'll see how far that takes me. I'll just click it again to get a new result here, because I can't right-click. And then... Alright, got rid of it.
Okay, do you want to do one for Sheppy?
You know what, he's got the better
No.
modifier, yeah. We got
Okay,
2 hero
we'll give it a
points. We got 2.
Might as well.
Yeah, it's like Jesse's there. It's not like he's not there. What do you do, Jesse?
I'm trying to convince Jesse to it. He wants to
guess
do
so.
it. He wants to do it. Alright. We've got all these hero points.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
All right, and then I'd like Arthurian and Cassandra to make perception checks. Especially you, Cassandra, because you are paying attention. You are curious. He's never been here before, and it's your nature. You, Arthurian, being who you are, you would be very curious about this situation. So you give me a perception check. Blind, both of you. Okay.
Mine should be on its way.
I got it. Let's go back to society. Althea, the name Rajani, besides being familiar to you recently because of Val Rajani, the fighter of the Roseguard, the name Carmen does ring a bell. He's someone who lives here in town. In fact, if you recall, he was the rival of the mayor, Osef Menemes. He's been trying to become mayor for a long time. He's kind of a sneaky type of individual, though. He has as much claim to the icons as anyone else. He even should be mayor. So you've heard him say. Rumored. You're not sure you've ever seen him, however, but he is also a descendant of one of the Roseguard, Rajani, the fighter. Not sure where he lives or anything like that, but that's pretty much the extent of it. But there is a descendant to Rajani in town, still alive, and his name is Carmen. And that's who, suggested by Vandy, is likely the culprit. He's always been trying to get that sword. Always. He had something to do with it. And then she goes on to explain that on the night of the theft, and you've seen evidence of this, Arthurian, as you've been exploring, although you haven't put things together until just this moment, there was a fire. You can smell it. There was a fire in one part of the library. A table, in fact, that was charred and left black. Fortunately, it doesn't look like there was any damage to a lot of the books. It was in a spot off to the side. It was probably quickly extinguished. But you caught on to that, Arthurian. Your keen eye picked up on that. Your smell picked up on that. So there was something here. And this all becomes clear to you as Vandy explains that there was a fire in the library. And it was just shortly after that fire that we extinguished the papers. And shortly after that, they realized that someone had broken in and stolen the sword, for it had been shattered. Sometime after that.
They used the fire to set a distraction.
Right. And, but they can't be sure. You'd have to investigate further your own, but nothing else was known. The guards arrived much too late. There was no one caught, no one seen. There is some suspicions. Vandy makes that clear. That Carmen, he's the first one that comes to mind. And while you contemplate your next move, we're going to take a short break because it's almost 9. We're going to take a short break for 5 minutes, and you guys can think about what you're going to do, as well as you, Dizzy, because you're hanging out with the hippies on the opposite side of town, beating some drums. We're going to catch up with you. All right, so folks, we're going to take a really short intermission. So we started a little later tonight. And yeah, we'll be right back. All right, we're back again. The final part of the episode tonight. Things are getting interesting. Companions are digging into this. They just found out the sword that they've been looking for has been stolen a couple nights before. Shattered glass. The whole kit and caboodle. Somebody created a diversion with a fire and swiped the sword. That's what they get from it. Companions are currently talking with Vandy, trying to think out their next move. Hey, we got to find this sword. What are we going to do next? And while this is going on, Cassandra, ever mindful and keen with the eye, she's starting to take notice of Arthurian the dwarf, who up through this point has been kind of quiet to himself and sickly. He is, of course, sickened from something that occurred in the Gauntlet while fighting that strange glowing skull and the ghost of Otari. Something happened and he's been sick ever since, and it's causing a problem. So with that, Cassandra, start us off here.
So Cassandra tears her eyes away from all the books and other amazing things she hasn't seen from where she's from. Notices Arthurian has still not gotten better from whatever it is that's afflicting him. And steps forward, and with his permission, tries to diagnose what's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, he offers no resistance to it.
All right, that's even better. You pull Arthurian to the side while this conversation with Vandy is going on with the other characters. He kind of lays back and you tell right away, you look towards his mouth and you see his gums are yellow. Doesn't look normal, even for a dwarf who drinks way too much.
Hey, it's lubricant, okay?
And when he says that, a smell comes from him that you only could smell if you were this close to his face. And it smells like rot and filth. Totally not natural in your experience. However, this is something you have noticed before. This is something known as filth fever, so it's been called. It's a particularly nasty sickness that infects the intestines and moves throughout the whole body and lasts for days and can actually kill you. Now, what you can do at this point is, it's a disease. Medicine would be required. Treat disease. That is a thing you can do with medicine.
Okay, so then if he's not sitting, I press gently on his shoulders to get him to sit. And I say, you will let me treat you now.
All right. Now, as this is going on, this is the closest thing to a hospital in Otari. Keep that in mind. While this is happening, there's this conversation going on. This takes 10 minutes to do this recall knowledge that he just did. So there is 10 minutes of conversation going on here. The rest of you, is there anything you'd like to ask Vandy or anyone else involved here at the Dawnflower while Cassandra's busy doing this? Sheppy, Althea.
This person that you mentioned, do you know where they live or where they hang out?
Not sure where he lives. Somewhere in town. I don't keep track of him, but you do know that. If it was indeed him, I mean, he's not unknown. People know of him in town. But Vandy recommends you check with the guard or perhaps ask around town. Again, the Crook's Nook in some of these locations. And maybe ask a little bit more. But all she knows is that Carmen has always been somebody who's rivaled the mayor, always been trying to seek to be a mayor in town, but could never be successful. He's always claiming he's the true descendant of the Roseguard members. He is a Rajani after all. Osef Menemes is also a descendant. So you could see there'd be a rivalry there. But he seems like somebody that's really, really bitter about the whole thing. And the sword belonged to his relative, Rajani. So he's always wanted this sword. So they've always kept an eye on him. And he's always been seen hovering around the sword. He'd come in to admire it. They've seen this here at the temple. But never did anything about it. But it's very suspicious that all of a sudden it goes missing. He'd be the first one you'd think of. But, maybe it's not him. They haven't seen him. They don't know what's going on. They don't know if the guards found out anything. Obviously, they haven't found the sword, but there was guards here. They investigated. Vandy doesn't know any more than that. So she recommends check out the guards, go to the Otari garrison, or
check it out,
or so on and so forth.
Sheppy is going to make his way to the Crook's Nook. Somebody want to come with me? Might get dangerous in there.
You probably should all stick together.
I'll take that hint and
Yes.
stick together.
I'm just thinking, if you all get separated, we're going to have a all these different little episodes. We've got Alessandra that I got to hop to real quick.
Well, Althea turns to Sheppy as, he's trying to convince us to head over with him. She said, I think we should stick together. If we do find him and confront him, something bad might happen, and maybe I should be there to talk us down from a fight.
Maybe we just burn them.
No. We do not need another bar burned to the ground. Not like the thirsty alpaca.
You don't know about that.
You better have not been involved in that.
Well,
Sheppy.
but it was a lot of fun.
All right, so I don't know, Cassandra, if you have any special abilities with the treat disease. To do this, to treat disease, it's going to take at least 8 hours of care. And that's why I mentioned you're in the Dawnflower Library. They do this. Much like happened with Sheppy, he can be treated here, but it's going to take a long-term thing. So this is going to be your decision, Arthur, and if you want to remain behind with Cassandra's advice and spend 8+ hours treating this filth fever that seems to be upon you, they can treat you, they can help you, but you're going to be down for 8 hours.
Yeah, but it can get
I think
worse, right?
Yeah,
If
but
we're
it
not
can get
treated.
worse and lead to death. So yeah, I'll have Arthurian hang behind.
All right,
What time of day is it?
I will say this, it's a very slow-moving disease.
Weren't we like an hour before dusk?
Yeah.
We're probably beyond that now.
Closing
So,
in, not there yet. It's still some
We
daylight.
probably just have a little bit more interactions, and then we might do a night's rest. So I don't think waiting 8 hours would be the end of the world. If you want to come with us first, and then go to the Dawnflower for your rest.
And then
Yeah,
they
I
can
was thinking.
cure it and treat it there.
Yeah. That might be the smart idea. This way you can also be there and not miss out on anything. And still
Sure.
get healed
So
up later.
I'll go and then I'll come back once we do a little bit of investigation.
Okay, so you're going to spend the
Yeah.
evening here at the Dawnflower with Cassandra and the priestesses?
Yeah, so once we get back from the Crook's Nook.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's the plan with that. Cassandra,
Are the
Can't leave us now,
priestesses
Arthurian.
the priestesses willing to do the medicine checks for him, or does Cassandra have to be the one to do it? I'm fine if it has to be me. I'm just wondering.
oh, they could do it. They could do it. There's a charge, but there's a discount. They support the companions here at the Dawnflower and do everything they can to help. But it will require 8 hours and some medicine checks, or at least one for 8 hours. And that could treat the disease. And that's the only way you can get rid of that sickness. If it's as bad as it sounds, it could mean, Arthurian, you're going to have to make some more savings throws, which I'll make on my side of the screen. And if you fail them, you could get worse. If you pass them, you'll get a little bit better, perhaps. You don't know how deep in it you are right now. All you know from Cassandra, from her initial diagnosis, is this is filth fever. It's slow moving. It can potentially kill you, and it's nasty. As you can attest to, you're currently sickened and suffer from sickened 1 condition. So we can take care of that at the Dawnflower, no problem. Cassandra, it's an option for you to do this and join whatever you decide on. We'll figure that out when we get there. Until that occurs, you guys can investigate a little bit in town. You still got, you got about another 6+ hours of stuff if you want before the town starts to shut down, and you can get your sleep. So to do that, you have several options. You can go around town in general, frequent the different taverns, do a gather information. You could go specifically to the Crook's Nook, where it's known to have a lot of ne'er-do-wells, as I mentioned, who might be on to things. Osprey Club, ring a bell? Anybody? Maybe, maybe not. That's an option. Third option, the Otari Guard. This was all suggested by Vandy, places you might have some information. Outside of that, let me see, there was one other thing. Outside of that, it's Make another check, Sheppy and Althea. This is going to be I think it's society. Yeah. Society.
Alright, there's Sheppy's. Here's mine.
You can hero point if you want. It's up to you.
Both of us again?
Yeah, it's bad.
Can I use my underworld instead?
The total of both rolls is a 10.
Oof.
A 9 and a
Sorry I let you down, Jesse.
11. I'm sorry. A 9 and a 2. Ugh. I'm sorry. I shouldn't give that away.
It's all right. Go ahead.
It's just
Hero
horrible.
point it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, make one more roll.
Alright, here's Jesse's. Hopefully better.
Ugh.
Here's mine.
Ugh.
I couldn't have rolled terribly 4 times in a row. Don't tell me that I did.
Get rid of those hero points, and I'll reveal
They
something
have-
here.
They
They're
have
done.
been used up.
There's one more place Vandy reveals to you about Karaman. He actually, this is a little bit of information I probably should have revealed before anyway, but he actually works at Blades for Glades. He's actually the blacksmith.
Oh,
So
Oh.
there
that's
is that.
important.
Yeah, that is pretty important. I totally skipped it. Sorry.
Sorry, I don't think Althea really would have known that right off the bat anyways. Because what's she gonna do at a blacksmith?
As you go to turn and leave, Vandy stops you. Oh, by the way, you might want to check where he lives and works. Blades for Glaives. It's like, oh,
I'll make
yes.
sure to check it out. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, there we go. Retcon.
I did ask where he lived, but
Yeah, I was lost for a moment. All right, so that's what you guys can do. You got a bunch of different places to go to and investigate. Now, before this happens, we're going to be at about the dusk at this point when it begins. The street lights are being lit and the guards are out in force, watching around the locations where the ne'er-do-wells, our word for the night, tend to gather in the dark and in the shadows. However, at the sound of a beating drum, a fire has erupted up on the hill, the Stone Circle Lake. What are you doing, Alessandra? What are you doing?
At this point, Alessandra has eventually made her way into the group, getting kind of a chit chatter going on with
Getting
everybody.
crazy.
Not
Sounds
that
like
type
a
of
good
crazy.
time.
Bonfire erupts.
She's getting chatted with people, finding information out, and inquiring of the people if they know of anybody that knows a great deal of knowledge about magic.
All right. You could give me a diplomacy check.
All right.
And the rest of you guys, how would you want to approach this investigation? Cassandra, you're in there too in this investigation. Or you could, Arthurian's coming with you, so I take that back. So you're all together.
I think the plan was to go to the Crook's Nook.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
let's
let's
go like
do-
incognito mode though.
Okay. The Crook's Nook it
Althea says,
is.
I don't want them to know we're on to him, so maybe we shouldn't all approach at the same time if we spot him.
All right.
Peppy, do you want to do the honors?
okay.
Either that or Arthurian. Arthurian, you could go in claiming you'd like one of your weapons altered in some sort of way, like a job for him, and then just start questioning, oh, well, where were you on the night of Thursday? or whatnot.
Alright, that can work.
Where were you 2 nights ago?
Mm-hmm.
As a flame appears in my palm.
Well,
Oh, intimidation.
Hey.
sword could use a bit of work, so let's give that a go.
Yeah.
All right, so you're all sticking together and you're heading to the Crook's Nook.
Or was it
Yes,
the
sir.
blacksmith?
I think it was a blacksmith that we were going to.
Oh, you're going there first.
Oh no,
All right, let's get it
well,
right.
he might be closed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is that
So we can go to the Crook's Nook, search for him, and still make the request for the weapon, or alteration or whatever, and just be like, I'm sorry, I know you're off hours, but mind looking at this blade, and then like the conversation goes on from there.
I'll put it to his throat, ask him to come nicely.
And then I burned his house down. Sounds like a plan.
All right,
Just like the tavern, Sheppy, just like the tavern.
it's not hard to find. I think it's on the northern side of town, in the direction of Rin. Let me look and see where that is.
I'm so sorry, Cassandra. Pay no mind to the words that are coming out of their mouths. They're not really going to do it, right, guys? You're not really going to do it, right?
No, right.
so?
If I
Cassandra
see
looks
your
somewhat
lips
relieved.
move to cast any spell, Sheppy, I swear to Desna.
Well,
I will
thankfully, in my
grapple
defense,
you.
I don't need a spell to apprehend this little maggot.
Stealing our stuff.
And plus, shouldn't we consider them innocent until proven guilty?
Nope.
Nope.
Maybe he just gets a bad rap.
Spoken like a true dwarf.
He gonna get a bad rap. He don't give me the answers we need.
Oh boy.
Got a club in my back pocket.
Well, I'll let you two lead the way because you're more convincing, but should anything happen, I will chime in with my sweet innocent words.
Good cop, bad cop.
We'll
Yeah.
break him. We'll break him into little bitty pieces. You can heal him and get all the credit.
As you make your way out of the Dawnflower, laughing and cheering and poking each other, you see the streets light up. You see there's not as many people gathered. You smell the smells of cooking meat and foods and breads as you pass the Rowdy Rockfish. You hear the sounds of cheering and laughter coming from the bridge area in the Crook's Nook, which you have to pass to get up in the direction of the Blades for Glades. It takes a little short walk to get there. You pass the Crook's Nook and get up towards this part of town. You can see where I'm clicking right here. It's up towards Rin Savixi's, not far from it. You see this obvious-looking blacksmith shop. There's an outdoor area. You can see an anvil and, where they heat up the stuff and the smoke comes out, and it's in the outside. It's got a roof. But you also see this bigger building next to it. Looks like 2 floors. Perhaps that's the shop. Perhaps that's where he sleeps. It is closed. In fact, there's a sign on the front door, written in common, closed. And there doesn't seem any light coming from inside. Anywhere in the building, upstairs or down. You see no lights.
Well, you better hope he's at the Crook's Nook then.
Cassandra just knocks to be sure.
No answer. You hear nothing.
Knock louder.
Hey, what's going on over there? You hear a guard come up from behind you. There's a pair of guards. You recognize them in their tabards. What are you doing?
Hey, we have reason to believe that the owner of this building may have stolen something from the Dawnflower. And we need answers. You wouldn't happen to know anything about it, would you?
Maybe you should talk to Longsaddle. Longsaddle, of course, is the main constable at the Otari garrison. Before you go investigating on your own, we've been watching for him as well. We know what you're looking for. He's rumored the one stole the sword.
Well, has anybody asked him a question yet?
Asked him a question. We haven't found him.
He's not there? How do you know?
He hasn't been in this building in days. It's been closed for days. Now be off with you.
Maybe he's in hiding. Sheppy, do you know anybody in the underground?
Yes, maybe we need to go to the Crux Nook and ask.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
be
go.
about it then.
All right. No sneaky stuff. The guards are watching you. And they watch as you leave and you head back from whence you came towards the Crux Nook. Now, Alessandra, you're up here. You're gathering around. The gist you get is this is a gathering place for the local... They seem like druids. There's mention of Gozra as well. And one individual they've referenced a couple times is Whirlwind. He seems to be the one who has the most knowledge with magical things. He's like a druid. He has nature magic. He's a good one to speak to. However, they haven't seen him in days. He hasn't been around. But you're welcome to stay and camp with them. They usually don't frequent town. They keep outside of that and stay here. They camp up here and gather. You also get the gist that this is a place where travelers come. Travelers like rangers and huntsmen and druids and those types gather here. They feel more at home at the stone circle. Whereas there's this vibe, you know. You also kind of feel like the people here are kind of like outcasts and not welcome in the town proper. You're not sure why. But that's what you've gotten from them so far. The drumming has ceased and everyone's kind of calming down and gathering. There's about a dozen of these individuals now. You see a halfling amongst them. But most part they look to be human, perhaps half-elven, you're not sure. Cloaked figures mostly, but they're all pretty relaxed, laid-back folks. So there is that. At this stage, do you want to continue here, or is there something else in your mind?
Having gleaned the information that she has just by looking over the stones, listening to the folk, she feels like this is something she might need to share with the group, so she kindly excuses herself from the group and she starts making her way back into the city to look for the folks that she was hanging out with previously.
All right, so you are mainly bedding down at the Rowdy Rockfish. And the last you recall, your friends were heading up to
Crooks Nook, I think.
Yep.
no, Mortiblins. You were going to Mortiblins, and she decided to head off. And that's the last you remember, Alessandra.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you're just going to be making your way back into town and see if you can meet up with them at some point. No plans were made here. In the meantime, the rest of you were at the Blades for Glades, and now you're going to the Crux Nook and going to do some questioning, correct?
Correct.
All right, give me a... While you do this, give me a... Are you asking anybody on the journey there? Anything? Because there is people in the streets that you can question. Say, hey, do you know this Rajani? Have you seen him? Do you want to do that, or are you keeping to yourselves as you journey from spot to spot?
I think we should keep to ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want everybody knowing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because word spreads and
And I
he
can
might
take
flee.
them
off.
All right.
That's exactly it, yeah.
All right, you know what? At about this time, right as you begin to leave and head south, Alessandra, you spot your friends. They're right there in the street, coming down, walking away from Rin Savixes, it looks like. They're a little bit of ways. Boy, they didn't move very fast. There they are.
Alright. She is going to try and stealthily move up behind them and then just try and blend in as though she was with them the entire time so nobody thinks otherwise.
All right, what's
Come
your...
to the party, lassie.
All right, go ahead and give me a stealth roll. Private.
Alright. Coming up.
We'll see how good you are at it, because it's fun. Make a blind stealth roll. I want to see how sneaky
Alright.
you are. All right, the rest of you are heading down towards the Crook's Nook. You've passed a few people on the way down. Hear a scream occasionally. You don't know what that's about, but you keep moving on. And eventually you get to that more louder noise coming from the not the rowdy rockfish, the Crook's Nook. And again, you get to the bridge area, and it's about an hour past dusk at this stage, and things are in full swing at the Crook's Nook. And as you get to the bridge and start to cross over it, you again notice eyes upon you, Cassandra. And you as well, Althea. And you as well, Alessandra. There seems to be eyes upon you. Is that normal? Who's to say? Althea doesn't seem to pay much attention to it. You get to the front doors. You see about 6 rough-looking individuals just hanging out on the steps or leaning against the door. Occasionally they look up at you. A couple of them have drinks in their hand. And you pause before the doors. You haven't been in here before. Arthurian, I think you have?
Oh yeah, we got into a bar fight.
Ah, yeah, that's right. Althea, this place you don't normally come to because of that very reason. You know, it's a rough part of town. And you're a little hesitant to enter. But do I have a location for that? Let me see. Yeah, I do. I got a little spot here called the Crook's Nook. Let's activate that and go on over. Oh, yes, I remember this. Still got some tokens on there, including Binley. I'll put him on the table here somewhere. Where is he? Oh, Binley's on the table here. He's tiny. Who am I missing? Sheppy. Let's make you visible. Arthurian. Let's make you visible.
Make Brolo visible. I want round 2.
Cassandra.
Before Alessandra enters into the establishment,
Yes.
she's gonna go and undergo a slight change in personality.
Okay. Sorry your tokens are so small, Cassandra and Alessandra. You got little tiny tokens there. You're in the distance. That's what that is.
Sometimes the smallest are the dangerous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so that's the Crook's Nook. Now, there's a lot more people in here than just that one guy there in a leather jacket or whatever he's wearing. There's a lot more going on here. The place is full and it's rowdy, and there's a guy singing some type of song and a bunch of others joining in. That thing is going on here. As soon as you step in here, you do feel once again the eyes are upon you. You see a barkeep wiping the bar like this. And he stops, looks up at you, and then he gets back into it, paying you no attention. Sheppy, go ahead and make a society check. This can be public.
Can I use the underworld? lore?
Yes, you can use underworld lore instead.
Okay.
Either one, whichever's better.
Hold on, I can't click on our sheets. I'll just have to go here. Blind.
It could be public.
Oh, I already clicked it.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You did roll an 11, which is poor. You want to roll that again?
No more hero points.
Okay. And before I forget, Alessandra, what were you doing again? You were kind of changing your attitude, you said?
So, before they enter the establishment, how usually Alessandra's, he's very calm, very collective. She doesn't show much emotion at all. As soon as she walks into the establishment, there's a change in her. Like, there's more sway. She tries to put on a more deceptive, feminine air about her. Like, she's not so much as an outsider, but more of like a common patron, just trying to make it appear like she's more of a feminine than anything else.
Laid back, chill, relaxed?
Mm-hmm.
In a feminine way. As you step in, Althea, Sheppy's taking a good look around. All of a sudden, breaking through the two of you is someone you haven't seen. Ah, it's Alessandra. Where did she come from? You didn't see her come up on you, but there she is, calm and chill as ever. Sheppy, after you react to that, Sheppy, you do notice... Oh, I'm sorry, you rolled an 11. Nothing. Sorry. There's a lot going on here. Well, Alessandra, you go ahead. You can. In fact, everybody.
I'll be back, guys. I gotta run.
Okay, Jesse. Are you heading home?
Yeah, pretty soon. I got things to do here.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you.
All right. No, we're just gonna keep those two with those two rolls. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, you see people scattered around the tables. There's about a dozen plus people at tables, maybe about 6 different tables. You see a large hatch in the middle of the floor. It seems to be closed and locked at the moment. Not sure what that's about. Not even you, Arthur, and you've been here. So is Sheppy, but there's this big, large hatch you haven't seen before, Arthurian. And you see patrons scattered around. Now, at this point, if you want to just linger around and do this with a roll, we can do that. This is going to be another diplomacy. You're going to be gathering information, talking with people, offering a few coins. You can describe to me what you're doing. I might give you a bonus to something or reduce the DC based on what you're doing. But this is going to be a gather information check for everybody that's involved. So we can do this individually. That's the simplest way to do it. So you'd all give me some blind diplomacy checks. And I'll ask you what you're doing after the rolls.
Cassandra has no guile about her at all, so she just openly asks, where can we find the missing sword that's stolen?
Okay. You going up to the tables, the bar? Anyone in particular that stands out?
She looks for what she thinks is the stereotype of a ruffian sort.
Okay.
And she just comes forward and like someone with really bad social skills, just asks, where
Okay.
can we find the missing sword that's been stolen?
Right.
So that's diplomacy?
That's diplomacy. Sheppy can use underground lore as well because he's being kind of wanting to check in on that. Okay. Arthurian, how about you?
I'm gonna go to the drunkest table
Okay.
and see if I can sort of peruse and get some answers from like the really, really drunk.
All right. All right. So you're going to go up there with a drink in your hand?
Yep.
Sit with them, get a little friendly? Okay. All right. And you made your roll, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I've got a roll from Arthurian. I've got a roll from Cassandra. And I've got a roll from Sheppy, but I think that was from before.
It was. I'm debating what I want to do. Because Althea's seeing everybody just kind of wander off and going to different sections, but Althea's a little bit out of her element already just by being there.
What are you doing, Alessandra? Maybe Althea will join you. What are you doing?
Alessandra is going to...
You're basically making gather information. I'm just asking you how you're going about it, if you're doing it at all.
Oh, she is. She's gonna look around the place, noting where people are sitting, and then she's gonna try and see if she can figure out who might be standing out the most, like almost as if they are the boss of the place. Like, this is somebody you do not want to mess with, and they have a lot of respect in the place before she makes a move.
Okay, Althea.
Is anybody asking wait staff yet?
Don't think so.
I'm
Alright.
asking the filthy drunks.
Alright, then that's going to be Althea's approach. It's just like, well, can I please speak with whoever's been on this current shift?
Since Alessandra's doing that before she attempts to find information, do you want me to roll a blind perception?
Yeah, you can go ahead and make it.
Okay.
Let me put this all together in my head. Got a lot of rolls here.
I'll just go ahead and put Sheppy's. We'll use diplomacy because it's better than his underworld.
Yeah, there you go.
He would just be asking like the most low down looking person.
All right. The only effect it would have if you use a skill that's not as good will be the skill you're using, because the information you get is going to be based on what skill you're using. Like if he's using Underworld, that's the information he's going to get. Whereas diplomacy might not be such shady stuff. So there is that. Regardless of the success, the information you get is going to be based on that skill. So there is that.
All right.
Consideration.
Yeah, okay, then we'll do Underworld. This way we kind of get a variety of information.
There you go.
Right, there it is.
Okay. All right, now let's see here. Cassandra, you see your friends all come into the room. They all kind of disperse and go from one way to the next. You see Arthurian, the dwarf. He grabs a drink from the bartender. No conversation there, and he starts looking around. There's a lot of people talking, a lot going on, a lot of clanging of mugs. He seems to be eyeing the place around. Alessandra, she seems to be a little bit more smooth with her movements, cautious with her movements. She walks in and she leans against this one central tree post that seems to be in the center of the whole building, and she's kind of leaning there and looking around like Arthurian. spotting up the joint. Althea, you look confused. You step into the room. Again, your friends go their way doing their thing. You're almost scared out of your pants when Alessandra showed up and just, without saying a word, just drifted off into the room. Not sure what she was up to. But as your eyes scan the room and you look beyond Alessandra in this central position, you see beyond her a familiar face. You think it's familiar. You've seen her around town. And her eyes lock onto yours. And just as that happens, Arthurian, you see this moment of eye contact. Sheppy does as well.
Yeah, left hand's on the long sword handle.
You recognize this individual, Althea, as the owner of the establishment. Ysmira. You've seen her many times, and you know her name, but you've never met her. But her eyes lock onto you. You've always been a little bit distant from this part of town, although you've had to cross the bridge many times. You kind of avoid it, but you've seen her before. She's the owner. And I'll show you this picture here. Dark-skinned human, known as Ysmira. Someone from the Southlands, who's been living here for quite some time, you recall. Or so it might be rumored, Althea. You're not sure. But she's looking your way, and you feel compelled to come towards her. And it's at that point, Arthurian, you see Althea kind of hesitatingly start moving in the direction of this woman. You don't know who she is, but you've noticed her. She stands out. And you as well, Alessandra, you notice this. And this individual seated at this table does indeed stand out. There's not as many of her stature in this building. You don't know why, but she almost commands with her presence attention. She sits there quiet, and there's currently nobody else at the table with her. But she sits there with a large mug of ale. What do you do, Althea? It's up to you.
Well, I won't find any information by sitting here. She'll tidy up her shirt and clothes and take a deep breath and walk forward, right towards her.
Come on over, my dear. I've seen you in town before. It's a pleasure to meet you. Here, take a seat.
I will sit. Thank you. She, kind of awkwardly brings the seat out to sit down. And she says, oh boy, what does she say?
Yeah. While this is happening, Cassandra, I forgot you. Where were you? I left you out of the description here. I got your role.
No, I was at the beginning. I had awkwardly asked some people about where we could find the missing sword.
Yes, right. Let me finish your description first before we get into this. Again, you see all your new friends spread out and around this room. It's loud. It's uncomfortable, this room. You don't feel good here. And you almost clumsily, to use that word, trip over onto your face. You trip over a guy's leg sticking out at a table as you try to work your way through to some of the other patrons. And as you do that and catch yourself, you almost accidentally bump into another guy and almost spill his drink. You go, what are you doing? Get out of here, you. Seems quite disgruntled with you. How do you react? What do you do at that point?
She's not very good with people. She's
Nope.
got introvertish issues, so she just mumbles sorry, sorry, and doesn't make eye contact and looks down. But because she's looking down, when she turns, she knocks a bit into somebody else, and so she's feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all the people here that she's not allowed to hit. So eventually, she just tries to find a corner where there are fewer people.
Yeah. Okay. These the people don't look too happy with you, and the ones that you bumped into look very, very annoyed, and they got their eye on you as you kind of shift your way into darkness and the shadows, away from this whole situation. But I assume you're also keeping your eyes on your friends. You see Althea, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So you're kind of off in the distance right now, in the shadows, keeping to yourself, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, Althea, how come we don't see you here before? That's unusual. You're always welcome here, Althea. Come on, have some drinks. And she snaps her fingers, and all of a sudden you see two guys near the bar come jumping forward. Drinks for us.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind.
Of course, of
You know,
course.
I don't find myself this way very often, because when I'm passing through, I'm always so busy. I've been at the Gauntlet the past few weeks, month, however long it's been, and mostly I just go right from the Dawnflower to my abode, and I
Okay.
never come across the oh shoot, what's the other bar called? It just escaped me.
Casks.
The Rowdy
Rowdy
Rockfish.
Rockfish. Yeah.
I've a lot of my the recent companions I've been traveling with. A lot of them have been staying there instead of other locations. So I've been going to that there often. And she's kind of talking nervously, like, "Oh God, she's being too friendly."
Okay.
Um,
And as
she makes me nervous.
you're explaining this, quickly one of the guys returns, and you see a big plate full of bread and some meat and a bowl of something. It smells really good. And also a big mug, and puts it down in the middle of the table. And Yasmira reaches over. Here, drink. Of course, that's 10 gold pieces. She looks at you quietly. I know
10 gold.
I know you're looking for something, Althea. And I know you're hungry.
You do.
And I know you're hungry. Maybe 10 gold pieces can reveal something that you seek. Or not. And she leans back in her chair, grabbing her mug. Now, at this stage, Arthurian, what are you doing? You can't really hear what's going on, but there's some conversation. What are you doing?
Sort of gonna continue to ask the highly intoxicated people at my table while still trying to keep an eye toward
All right.
Althea in case she needs support.
Okay, let me go back to your roll then. Real quick here. Okay. Not far away from where Althea is seated, there is a table. There's 3 guys, humans, sitting at this one table. There is a chair. You pull yourself up there, and you can probably see what you can get from that. Okay.
That'll work.
Alessandra, you also see this conversation going on with Althea. You've noticed. Is there anything different that you do?
Would Alessandra have heard the conversation?
Not in this case. It's much too loud.
Okay. In that case, Alessandra is going to make her way over to Althea's side,
Okay.
kind of lean on the chair, kind of in a kind of in an intimate way, like she knows Althea closely, if you catch my drift. And then she kind of says it loud enough for the woman across the table to hear. She goes, "My dearest, you never told me you had friends down here."
You saying this to Althea?
She's saying it to Althea, but she's saying it loud enough for the woman on the other side to hear her as well.
Okay. And
Well, Althea kind of gets the drift of like the gist of what this woman's trying to do, like pay me money, I'll give you information kind of deal. So Althea's kind of getting nervous the fact that Alessandra just came over and like made this announcement to the whole bar, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's trying to keep this really low key under the table. Oh god, what a predicament. And Althea in response says, yes, we're becoming fast friends, and we're just sharing stories, but why don't you sit down and we can share this grand tale together?
okay. All right. Before I go any further with this, I want you to roll diplomacy. Both of you. Separately. We're not going to do an aid here. So,
Okay,
Alessandra, give me a diplomacy. These are blind.
gotcha.
I wanted these rolls sooner, but I'll take it now. Okay.
You should have gotten mine.
Okay. I got them. All is good. All right. So, yes, you've been requested 10 gold pieces. I'm not sure why. It's an expensive meal. You hear from the shadows not far behind. Just when there's a moment of silence, a little break in the noise around you, you're 10 gold. And you look over and you see Cassandra from the shadows, listening carefully. She's very keen-eared. But yeah, she's kind of quiet into herself. She can't believe it's so expensive. But yeah. What do you do, Althea? You said your
I
piece.
just say, this is quite a feast, but that's kind of expensive, but I really am hungry. And she begins eating the food, but trying not to like break eye contact, and she in a lower voice so that only the three of them can hear, she says, where does one go to pay for the food and receive the rest of it?
Well, my dear, it's right here. Just pay me. I own this place.
And no one would question it?
No one would question it. Come, you're hungry. Is there something you would specifically like? Perhaps I can be as specific as you need.
Yes, there's somebody in town, you may know. They really love crawfish. You might know them. They would love a meal such as this. I'm trying to find them so that way I can share this abundance of crawfish that I have to give to them.
Sheppy. He suddenly appears underneath the table. He found crumbs.
So then in an even lower voice, almost to the point where you have to read her lips, she says it so softly. She says, it was Cameron, right? Or Carmen?
Carmen.
Carmen.
Carmen, what's his last name? Rajani. R-O-J.
Rajani.
R-A-J-A-N-I.
Sounds like a fancy cheese.
It does. Tasty.
See, it's making her hungry. Would go great with crawfish. don't ask me why I chose that one. It's just, yeah. So she's trying to be quiet about this and be real smooth, but she does mention Rajani's name.
You do. Yeah,
Said,
you're looking for Carmen, aren't you?
yes, like
Yeah.
I said, I'm hoping to give some of this fancy crawfish to
Yeah.
him.
He's gotten in a lot of trouble, so I hear. I figured others would be looking for him. I know the town guard's looking for him.
Well, there's the right group of people, then the wrong group of people, and
Well,
I'm the right group of people.
I guess you're not as hungry, though, so I guess we'll take this plate away. She snaps her fingers. And one of
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I'm really hungry. Just, it takes me a minute. And she pulls out this stupidly expanded coin sack. Because she's carrying a lot of coins.
the... 1 second.
A lot of coins! 1 second! She pulls out silver pieces.
Okay.
And counts to 100. Because, wait, that's the conversion, right? 10 gold is 10 silver equals 1 gold.
Yep.
She counts 100 silver pieces. Counting it like a grandma at the bank.
Yes.
What? Oh no, I lost count. I lost count. But she, you know how you can like, she has like one arm extended and curled, and then the other one taking the coin pieces. So it's kind of like she's blocking from anyone seeing it,
Yep.
but counting it out, and then it just shows it to her.
Alessandra tries to use her body to block the view as well, so people can't see what she's doing.
Thank you.
Cassandra, you can see what's going on here. You see the coins hit the table. Now, I'm explaining this for you because you are in the shadows, but you're close by to Althea. You can hear some of the words being passed around. Is there anything that you do as you sit here in the shadows and see these coins hit the table?
I'm gonna keep a lookout for, because I'm shocked that Althea is just openly showing that much money around everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know a lot about money, but I do know that that's not something that you just wave around like this.
Mm-mm.
So I'm gonna keep on a lookout for any pickpockets or people who might try to help themselves.
Okay. You have
Mind you, I have Binley too,
You
keeping
do.
an eye on me.
in the
On my
pocket.
pockets.
Arthurian and Cassandra, you do notice, especially you, Cassandra, that these guys that are bringing over this food and the drink, and one's still standing there kind of hovering, they got some nasty looking knives on their sides. They don't look like people that just work here.
I'll kick my chair back a little bit discreetly, so I sort of turn to face them, but I can still talk to the table.
Okay. And you're in some half-baked conversation here. You're not getting anywhere with the conversation. You keep bringing up some names and things that have happened, but the conversation always seems to drift off into something else. These guys are pretty plastered. So you found your plastered guys. So who knows? Maybe throw them a few coins. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they're too drunk. Okay. And Althea, you've counted out these coins, and she sits there and she's looking at you like this with her head on her chin on her shoulder, just watching you, taking her time. Got her mug cradled. She looks a little bit annoyed, but eventually you pull out 100 silver pieces, 10 gold. Well, this seems like now we can talk. You're looking for Carmen.
I sure am. Do you know where he is?
I know where he might be. He's not around here. He's no friend of mine, and I'm no friend of his. He's gotten on our bad side a few times. Yeah.
When's the last time you've seen him?
Days. It's
'Cause
not
that's-
unusual. a lot of people hang out at the Smuggler's Refuge, if you know what that is. So with that mentioned, go ahead and make a society check, Althea. The Smuggler's Refuge. See if it rings a bell as you try and recall knowledge. Get this out of the way. Alessandra,
Well-
you would have no clue.
Sandra was actually going to, when you're listening to what's going on, just kind of faintly, she's gonna throw her gaze around the room and see if she can try and get an idea of where those eyes that she felt from earlier might be coming from.
Say that again? The what was coming from?
The eyes that were on them earlier that she could feel on the back of her. She's just gonna throw her gaze around the room like lazily and see if
Okay.
she could possibly find it.
You do notice Arthurian looking your way. Sheppy's nowhere to be seen. Cassandra, you catch from the back here behind you. Eyes are upon you. But the one thing you do notice is that nobody in this place is looking at you right now. None of them. There's no eyes on you, except for this individual talking with Althea.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And the guy hovering over behind her with a nasty-looking dagger. Everybody
Alice-
seems in their own world.
Okay. Alessandra's just gonna keep her eye on that in particular individual then.
All right. Where were we, Althea?
We were talking about that Carmen's no friend
Yeah.
of hers.
He's-
Where does he most frequently hang out if not here?
Oh, that's what it was. The Smuggler's Refuge.
Ah,
Now, this is a place you've also heard of, Althea, being here for 5 years. You've never been there. But it's a place where you've heard a lot of younger folks like to hang out. You know, it's about an hour outside of town, to the west, through the woods, closer to the shore. Yeah, it's rumored to have been a place where the smugglers used to gather and camp as they brought things in and out further up the shore. And nowadays, it's a place where a lot of kids hang out. You know, just get away from all the adults and that kind of thing. It's known as Smuggler's Refuge. And there's a good chance
how old is Carmen?
Carmen's a full-on adult, full-grown
Oh.
man, grown-ass man. That's what he is.
This is getting shady.
Yeah, he's not on good
Okay.
terms with this individual, it seems.
Right, well, Althea's just nodding her head and listening. How is there a path out there, or would one need directions? I've never been.
There's probably be a path. I haven't been there myself in a long time, but I think there's a little game trail that you can follow. It's not on the main trail, that one that heads into that gauntlet that you're so familiar with. You go up there all the time, from what I hear. But yeah, you can probably find one quite easy. It's about an hour from town. You should find it. But yeah, it's a little cave. You go in there, and that's where I think he is. That's where he would go anyway, if he actually took that sword. But what do I know?
You seem to have had some interactions with him. Well, you must have if you dislike him so. Does he seem like a violent man?
Carmen, he's too bold for my liking. He's a very bitter man. He has it in for the mayor. I'm sure you know this. Yeah,
I've heard.
He's supposedly a descendant of, one of the Roseguard, whatever. And he's always laying claim to the mayorship of the town, but he can't get anywhere with that. It's probably a good thing. He's always going on about that sword at the Dawnflower. I'm sure it was him. Who else would steal it?
Is there any reason why they didn't give the sword back to him, but
That's a good question.
mayor was able to receive his as a family heirloom? Why did the Dawnflower claim it?
Well, the Dawnflower, I don't know. I think they were just watching over it. I don't know if anyone claims it. It's kind of like a town's type of thing.
I'd figured it'd be a family thing. But, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time and then, a little bit at a time, Althea is just kind of, sliding the coins over that have been counted.
Ah, okay. Well, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed the meal.
I did.
And your friends are welcome also. And with that,
you've noticed.
yeah, she looks over and she sees Cassandra and the shadows kind of hovering, and Alessandra, of course. And also Arthurian, who she looks back to the left, Ysmira, and she kind of, when she says this, she's looking right at him. You kind of follow her gaze, you as well as Sandra and Cassandra. You all follow Ysmira's gaze, and she's looking right in the direction of this dwarf who's seated there, kind of leaning on his knees with a big mug between his legs. His eyes and his ears are just looking right at you. It's so obvious. There's a big conversation behind him, but he's ignoring that. And then he kind of sees all these eyes look upon him. He's got, cheers, lasses. Yeah, and that was it. Sheppy's nowhere to be found. Probably under the table somewhere.
There's a lot less crumbs on me than there were before. Wow.
That's probably Binley. Yeah.
And then that's when I go, oh gosh, where's all my stuff?
Cassandra, you noticed something about that guy standing there. Based on your roll, I'm giving you this. But you do notice he's got a tear in his upper shirt on his left arm. His arm's across like this. But you notice on this tear, there's some kind of tattoo under there. And it looks like some kind of bird. And you're not sure, but it looks like something you have seen before. But you don't have a clear image of this tattoo. This image, some kind of bird. But you've seen it somewhere. You just can't place it. So you can make a note of that. And yeah, so that's the situation, Althea. So you got some information. So essentially there's this cave. She thinks there's this cave where he might be hiding out. She thinks he probably did take the sword. That's the gist you're getting from this. She don't care about it. She don't care about this guy Carmen. He's annoying and so on and so forth. And if he's to be found, this is what you were looking for. It could possibly be there, hour outside of town in this little cave area known as the Smuggler's Refuge. So you got something out of that. And Alessandra, you hear this as well. The dwarf, of course, you can hear this. You're listening pretty intently.
Looking even more intently.
Yeah. Your chair's about 6 feet away from where it was at the table with the drunks. You're just right in the middle of the building, just scooching forward, trying to, what are they saying? I can't hear him. Speak up, Althea. But yeah, you're getting the gist of this. So there is that. Other than that, that's about as much information as you're going to get at this point. And that's going to take another hour. Now, if you want, you can finish that food off, and that'll be fun. We could assume you did that.
Oh, yeah, she was snacking away the entire conversation while she's listening.
Oh, yeah. So it's about 4 hours to midnight. So at this point, you've got 4 hours to midnight. You can leave this place, spend the rest of the evening here. You could do some more combing of the town if you want, or whatever. You could get your sleep. You could head off into the woods in the dark if you want. But that's what you're getting from here. The Crook Snook. The only other thing I'll say is that this individual, Yasmira, she seems like somebody that's more than just the owner of the Crook Snook. There's something going on here. Cassandra, you're keen on this as well. That's a word I'm using a lot tonight too. Yeah. You're catching something from this. This woman seems like some type of authority figure, more than just an owner of a business. That's what you're getting out of this, Cassandra.
Okay. All right.
Since you've been watching so closely. And yeah, so what would you like to do next? Blades for Glades is closed. Crook Snook investigated. Talk to Vandy. There's still some guards. Go to the Otari guard. Long saddle and all that is an option. Or you can just say, you know what, let's go check this place out in the morning. That's up to you.
I think some people need to get their sleep. Yeah, Althea?
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Plus, I have to get off for the night, so that'd be excellent.
Yeah.
I need to go back to the Dawnflower, get this filth fever treated. However, lassie, if you would indulge one question. And he's looking to this mirror.
Yasmira, okay.
Big tall guy comes in here, named Brolo. No, Brolo. You seen him around lately?
Let me check the oracle. The last she's seen Brolo and his ilk, he does have some friends after all, you know quite well, was days ago. He's usually in here all the time. Every night he's in here sharing some drinks, but he hasn't been in for days recently. Ever since that event in the forest. He hasn't been
Could
seen.
you leave an open message for me?
Sure, what do you got?
You tell Brolo next time you see him. We have unfinished business. I'll be waiting for him.
Do you throw her a coin?
Yeah.
Okay, mark that off. And she grabs it. Noted. Arthurian.
You know my name.
I certainly do. You're well known around here.
Alright.
She keeps an eye on you.
I appreciate it. No, I believe I'll retire to the Dawnflower and get this mess picked up. Shall we gather at the stables in the morning?
Yeah,
Sounds
we
reasonable.
might have a long journey ahead to a specific cave.
Well, an hour. Even for your little legs. All right. All right, so what we'll do is I'll let you guys make your way back to the Dawnflower, Rowdy Rockfish, get your sleep, do the healing. We'll call the session at that stage. Not yet, but at that stage. And next session we'll pick up from there, and you guys can make up your mind what you want to do. What's next?
We're going to bail it, and we're going to go hit this cave, and hopefully Brolo's there. Get some dwarven revenge on that 8-foot tall bugger.
You're sickly. You don't want to be meeting up with him yet. There's going to be a grudge match.
Oh, yes.
Allison would probably escort Arthurian to the Dawnflower and make sure he actually lays down.
Yeah.
You would see he's kind of coughing quite violently.
Yep, she would definitely be making sure you're going.
Okay. So, do you want to call it there? You want to say your outros Rachel, because I know it's closing in on 10:30. If you want to do that, or
Yeah.
if you want to stick around just a little bit and role play any last moments here before we end it. It's up to you guys.
No, man. Althea's so tired, somebody's gonna have to carry her into her bed and tuck her goodnight.
Little too much of that ale.
Yeah, she drug the food? Why am I so tired? In reality, it's just like a food coma. She ate too much.
Might have had too much to drink there, lassie.
Yeah.
I'll have
have
to
a
teach you how to
tummy.
drink properly.
No more. I never want to drink again.
Well, you're in the wrong company for that, lassie. We drink round here.
And yeah, we didn't have no combat tonight. That's unusual.
It happens, but
Yeah.
I think we had a good time, regardless of that. We're little detectives.
We're
Yeah.
actually getting a plan together.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of plot going on.
What'd you think, Cassandra? Eric, what's going on? Did you enjoy that? I know there was no combat. You're a monk after all. There was a close one though. There could have been a barroom brawl breaking out. It was close, but
We're so proud.
yeah,
No, I don't necessarily need a combat.
good.
I don't want to contradict anybody else though. So no, it was fine.
We say that because normally every time that I come to the Crook's Nook, I end up in a bar fight with somebody.
I did not know that.
Oh, there was a big brawl here against Brolo. That's who that is. I'm sure Arthurian would tell you about this. But that was actually one of my favorite episodes. That was a really fun session where we introduced Althea.
Yeah, I was gonna say we introduced new characters that
Yeah.
session.
We had this big ass brawl breakout behind the Crook's Nook, actually near Althea's house. And we had it all set up in the map, and there's all these tokens on there for guys with sticks in their hand. And it was going to get nasty. And
Some
Arthurian
people
and
got arrested.
yeah, Arthurian and Brolo got into it in the back, and all of a sudden the law shows up. Disperse! You know, that was the end. Everybody's running and trying to get away. That was pretty fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
they all
him and
left me.
Maggie. Yeah, you and Maggie got arrested. Me and Sheppy, we escaped and had hid out at her abode, and then in the morning we went and bailed you out.
Yep. Arthurian and Maggie, they got stripped down to their loins in prison. This dirty, mud-filled cell. Yeah, give them a night in there to sleep it off. None of this brawling in behind Althea's house. Yeah, that's what that was. That was good fun. But anyway, we'll call
And the
it
whole
there.
thing was organic, and we did it on the fly.
Yeah, you did. That was good. And that was your introduction, Althea, to the companions. Wow. Trouble has come a-knocking.
If it wasn't for those dreams, she probably would not have joined.
Yep. Desna speaking to you. All right,
Alright, well,
let's
yeah.
do your outro, Althea.
Alright. Okay, have a good night, everybody. It was wonderful playing with you all again, and I'm very satisfied with the progress we've made, the different communications we've had, and we are one step closer to getting what we need, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And nobody was murdered, and nothing was set on fire. So that is a success.
You're so boring. Says Sheppy, under the table the whole time.
Maybe next time, Sheppy, because you never know how violent Carmen is, or maybe they are just misunderstood.
This whole time during the conversation, all of you, through the corner of your eye, you see shadows moving under the table. And you'd swear it looks like the shape and silhouette of someone you know, the goblin. He has a tendency to hide under tables and look for scraps. And once again, there he is, just moving real quick. Under tables.
I mean, at least the bartender won't have to worry about cleaning underneath the tables anymore.
Yeah, just sweeper.
You only know he's there from the shadow and the pungent smell he gives off.
All right, Rachel, thanks for joining. We'll be back again Sunday. We'll have another Abomination Vaults.
All right, I'll see you and talk to you guys then. Have a good night.
Night off.
As well.
Bye.
Good night.
And does anybody else have to rush off right off the bat? I know you get right on this time, Eric.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So I'm glad we got some leads on where to find this guy, and then hopefully find the sword and mend it if it's broken and needs to be mended before we can use it for our purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And okay.
Yeah, it was good. I'm glad you were in there. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of action tonight, which is unusual. I usually put some action in episodes, but things got a little bit heavy in the role playing tonight, which I enjoyed. And I will say one thing about Cassandra. She was very observant, as she should have been, and got a lot of information just by being observant in the background, the way you've done that. So that was good.
Yeah.
Somebody was paying attention, and a lot of information got your way that otherwise wouldn't have come to the companions. So that was pretty useful.
I'm glad she was useful.
Yeah.
She's not going to be useful for any of the social stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a little bit right. Clumsily walking into the crow's casks here, or the whatever it is. Not the crow's casks, but the Crooksnook.
Crooksnook, yeah.
But what we'll do is I'll assume you guys head down to the Dawnflower. Arthurian and Cassandra, where were you going to go? Are you going to go with him and escort him and help him in this process?
Yeah.
We'll do all that next time. I just want to know where you're going to be.
Yeah, I think that's what she's going to do.
All right. I'll make a note. Arthurian and Cassandra equals Dawnflower. That sounds about right.
And I believe Alessandra was coming along too.
Alessandra, are you going there, or are you going to be at the Rowdy?
She was going to go with Cassandra and Arthurian, just mainly for just to keep an eye on things.
Okay. Keep in mind, he's going to be sleeping. They're going to take care of him. They have beds there, and they have priestesses to watch through the night. You've seen this whole thing before. Sheppy experienced it. And if you guys want to go there, you can't really sleep there. If you want to go there and just help nurse him, or in Cassandra's case, she might even want to heal him, but you're going to have to get your sleep somewhere else. You can't go to the Dawnflower to sleep.
And
if you want to,
so once I'm sure that he's in good hands,
yeah,
I'll go off to sleep on my own.
Yeah, because they'll take care of him for that 8 hours, as it were, to treat disease. They might even do better than you would. Your fourth level, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So Arthurian, we'll take care of all that in the next session. We'll take care of your healing. Everyone will be able to rest up. You go back to the Rowdy Rockfish, whatever. Yeah, you guys can all get your healing for that. We'll take care of that at the start of the next session. And Arthurian, you'll have a treat disease check to deal with. See if you can get rid of that. What is it? Filth rot? Filth fever.
Yeah, filth fever.
Yeah. And that was, again, from Cassandra. Yeah, we'll do that next time. And I'll give out experience for this session sometime this week. It's not going to be much because there's no combat, but I always give out something. All right, so that's good. Want to do your outro one more time, Eric? And that'll be it.
Okay, so I'm glad to have made headway in finding out where the sword is.
Yep.
Glad we're going to be able to get one step closer to finding what we need to get past the barrier and the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Thanks
Finally.
very much, everybody. Thanks for everyone to putting all the effort in. It's appreciated.
Well, thanks for showing up and playing, man. It's good to have you. All right.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right. Take care, Eric. I'll see you again soon. Sunday for
Have
sure.
a good one, bub.
Bye-bye.
Toulouse. And how about you, Alessandra? You want to do your outro next?
why not?
Go for it.
Well, I mean, tonight was still still eventful. I mean, we had a near bar fight. We had people barding all over the place, going around getting information. It was still pretty decent.
It
Still pretty
was.
good.
I thought you guys would get a little bit farther. But like I said, we got into the role playing, and you don't want to stop that. I want to let you guys do that. So I'm not going to slow that down. That was good.
But hopefully next session we get to see some fighting, maybe some bar fighting, possibly chairs getting thrown down. You never know.
Yeah, you guys want Brolo back, don't you? Brolo and his gang.
Gotta get revenge, Fritz. I got to have it.
I know, you're always looking for that. Well, we'll see what happens.
That'll be my outro.
Okay. It's great having you, of course, and taking part in the games. And you've been with me all day in this session. So you got a whole slew of hero points. Did you use any of those hero points?
No.
Wow. Well, you lost them. You know, they don't carry over,
Oh,
so
well.
you're back to 1 again.
You gain and you lose them.
Yeah. Oh, well. Come and go. And Arthurian, or Kyle, what's going on, my friend? What'd you think of the game tonight?
I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I was a little bit late getting in, but once I got here, it just sort of just took off and then flowed how it needed to. You know, there wasn't a combat, and that's okay.
Yeah, it is.
Gave us more time to role play and interact with people, and gain more information. You know, we had discovered the sword was stolen. Now we have a clear-cut plan of here's how we're going to proceed.
Yeah. I think it's like the last session. We made a lot of progress with the storyline, with this story arc, and that was good because you guys haven't been doing that too much. It's mostly been just trying to get through these rooms and try and pick up clues to something, and that's been a lot of it. And it wasn't until the last session we had this little big discovery. The ghost of Otari. There was a lot revealed there, and that felt pretty good. So there was a lot of progress in the story of why are we here? What are we doing here? We're trying to solve this. That was a lot of progress.
And it made the grind worth it, because that's sort of like you said, like we've been sort of grinding through room by room, trying to get clues to the next room and figure that stuff out. Well, now we have a clear cut, you know, here's how we need to proceed instead of just grinding room by room.
Yeah, losing track of the story, just trying to find out these little things, little revenge trips. Well, we got to retrieve the body of Marshall. We got to seek revenge for Sheppy. You know, we got all these little things, but they have nothing really to do with the main story. And that's what last session was. And this one was kind of like a continuation of that. And so we're getting forward here. Feels good. Gives it all meaning and purpose.
Well, yeah, because we got that one big story block, and then that was sort of like, all right, there ain't no more, you know, grinding needlessly through tunnels at this particular specific stage. Now we have a purpose, we've got a plan, and we're gonna go out there and see if we can kick some teeth in, or knock down a few doors and retrieve a sword, and go back to the Gauntlet and unlock the other levels and go down in and see if we can stake Belcora.
Yeah. I am curious why. Well, maybe I'm not too curious about it. I can understand. But when you got to that chamber, that hallway with the alcoves that had bodies in them, nobody decided to actually investigate any of these bodies. They well, let's get out of here. There was that, and also, nobody decided to investigate these blue glows. The one was guarding the stairwell. Don't even go near it. And the other one was on the far side, supposedly where a shrine is, you know now. Blue glows, just no interest. Instead, you want to go down that corridor and disappear and just avoid this place. There's no interest whatsoever. You're trying to find the mysteries of this place. You're trying to get down deep, and yet you never even investigated that. I think you were legitimately scared. Let's get out of here. I don't want to be here. I don't know. I was curious about that.
I mean, we were fighting and
Marshall died.
fighting this creature, and it went horribly wrong. So it's kind of that recoil effect of, okay, let's take a moment.
Yeah. And then you discovered Otari, the ghost, and then he revealed to you what that was. So.
Yeah, and then we sort of redoubled down and sort of, redefined. All right, this is what we have now. We actually have a tangible piece of this story, and we're going to take it and run with it.
Yeah. You got to go back.
Yeah, we got to go back. And now that we have that clear-cut purpose in mind, we won't be just wandering around so aimlessly, I think, because we know the path forward instead of just sort of being sort of in it to win it, so to speak. We now have this clear-cut plan of we need these items to go on the altar so that we can get down below. We actually have a mission. Like on the upper levels of the Gauntlet, we always had a mission. Let's find a way down. Once we got down, 3-4 levels and things started, hitting a lot harder, we sort of fell back into that, jumping at shadows type of thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, a lot of good stuff here tonight, Fritz. Really happy. Really looking forward to the next session. Seeing what we can drum up in these caves.
Yeah, that's the next big mystery now. This is nice because it's a change of pace from just being in the Gauntlet. This is something a little different here. This is cool. So I like it.
It's open, fresh air.
Yep.
It's not 100 feet underground, dank, swampy, moss-covered tombs. It's open, fresh, open air. But yeah, I'm looking forward to next Sunday. I'll be actually on time, prim and proper.
Yeah.
You got no birthdays next week.
Yeah, you've been hit or miss ever since the holidays. I can understand that because of your work. But, now you got
Work,
birthdays
family.
to attend to and family. Let's just play Pathfinder.
Mom's is always hard because hers is literally 2 weeks after Christmas.
Yeah.
So it's like crap. I just, spent all this money. And now I've got to do it again because birthday's right here.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, things are finally starting to simmer down a bit. So looking forward to that. But with that, I'm going to bow out of here and call it a night because 5 o'clock comes early.
Okay. Well, let me end the stream. Folks, it was a good session. I enjoyed it. Almost a full house. Almost. Who are we missing? Well, we're missing Patrick, but he's kind of an extra. I play with about 4 to 6 players. To me, that's a full house. So, yeah, we're good with that. But we're going to be back next week. I'm going to run another Abomination Vaults. And then maybe after that, Kyle, when he's got the time, he can get back into some The Wild Beyond. It's up to you, Kyle. But I'll run the next session as well. Give you some time to prepare because you've been busy. No rush. When you're ready for it, we'll do that. Okay?
Okay, that works.
All right, folks, we're going to end the stream. I'm going to be back next week for sure with another live session. Episode 45 is coming up. We're going to continue this mystery, the story, and get back into the Gauntlet for sure and see what happens if the players or the characters retrieve the icons. We'll see if they do. Till next time, folks, you guys hang in there. It's only going to get better. I'll talk to you soon.